Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth. What do all men with power want? More power.
And now, broadcasting live on GMN from an undisclosed location in the Arizona desert. Italian by birth, American by choice. Songwriter, poet, freedom activist, luca-zanna with Love, Guns, and Freedom.
All systems go.
Don't tread on us. We're not afraid.
Hi everybody, this is luca-zanna and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. Today's Sunday. I always say I try to bring you the best guest, and today for me, in my heart, in my beliefs, and also as the example that this man has set up for me as a new American, is one of my best guests. And I'll tell you why. Last Sunday, you remember we had the Pastor Chuck Baldwin, and we were talking about, the role of a Christian man, what pretty much should do when facing evil. And I pretty much give you my opinion. I'm not a preacher. I'm just a regular guy. I'm a sinner. And this show is not about preaching. But I think we can at least start to get involved. And we should be involved. I also create an example. Because I really believe that when it comes down to activism and also to true values of fearless men or women, they want to pretty much stand in against evil and laughing sometimes at evil. I think the man that I have for you today is the perfect example of what an American should be, not being afraid to speak up with his own convictions, denouncing evil. I'm not saying that I agree in everything that Pastor Manning may say, but let's put it in this way. If I have to go to a church one day, that would be my church. Pastor Mannings, are you there?
Thank you so very much for having me. And again, thank you for that very strong introduction, especially those words regarding if you had to go to a church, it would be the outlaw church that you would attend. So I really appreciate that greatly.
Yes, so let me tell you why. Because we spoke, I really believe nothing happens by accident. A few years ago, before Mr. Obama, I don't call him president, Mr. Obama was elected, I found one of your YouTube videos. And by the way, I really invite everyone to find more information about Pastor David Mannings. And I say, you know what, this man, regardless other ideas or other opinions, the fact that this man is putting his life in jeopardy, messing up right now, daring to speak up against the most powerful man in the world, Mr. Obama, as a president or as acting president of the United States, we know very well now has unlimited powers, especially with the National Defense Authorization Act, to kill and kidnap any one of us, American included, without due process. So you said for me exactly the example what an American should be able to speak up the truth, or at least your beliefs, against corruption or evil. And that was very inspirational. It was over 6 years ago. And I said, and I've been following your work. And that's why I say Christians, in my opinion, they should be the same type of Christian that were facing the emperor in the arena, singing to the evil and smiling to death. That's why I really wanted you here today with me, and I would like to talk more about you.
Well, you're absolutely right about the Christian aspect. I think the biblical meaning of Christianity and action of Christianity has been lost in America, lost in American churches, and a new form of feel-good kind of social meeting, kumbaya, happens in our churches. And so therefore, you'd be hard-pressed to find a church today that actually lives up to the teachings and principles of Jesus. But the other thing I think is very important here is that Obama is not eligible to be the president of the United States of America. And Luca, everybody knows that. The Supreme Court, every member of the Supreme Court knows that. Every member of Congress knows it, even those who were not members of Congress 6 years ago, who've recently been voted in. And every major business leader and people of major importance in America knows without one scintilla of a doubt in their minds that this man is constitutionally ineligible. However, for the powers that be and reasons that they found worthy, They've allowed this man to present a fraudulent birth certificate. They've allowed him to be in the office of the presidency knowing that constitutionally he's not eligible. You know, they may argue, people may argue, well, you know, he's intellectually eligible. He's politically astute. And, you know, he's so therefore, what is it to hold against him the fact that the Constitution says that you must be natural born? I mean, if he's doing the job, if he's wearing the mantle of the presidency the appropriate way, what's all this hullabaloo? Well, the issue is that it's the law of the land. I don't care how well he may be trained politically or anyone who thinks he's intellectually astute. I don't necessarily agree with that. But the law of the land is the law of the land. And when we start obfuscating the law of the land based on personality or charisma or based on popularity, then we go down a slippery slope where our laws are no longer effective and we become a nation without laws. And so that's why he should not be in that office, and that's why I will not shut up.
Exactly. And this is exactly why I wanted you here today. Because what we're talking about here today, regardless, is not about a show about religion or Christianity. I mean, I have my own beliefs, and you do yours, and everybody can do whatever they want. This is about, first of all, courage, integrity, and the Constitution. Is it the Constitution still the supreme law of the land? And that's exactly the point, because you were the man there in the East Coast, in New York, in the Bronx, not only speaking, bringing facts and to your, to the people that you reach out every day and every week with your sermons but also with a very particular case that I think was very important was the trial, the Obama's trial. And you went all the way down. And let's talk a little bit about, remind us exactly what happened, how it happened, what did you do at this trial?
Well, I was visited in my office in our church. And by the way, our church is in Harlem, New York. I was visited at our church back in November of 2009 by members of the CIA who came under the pretense that they wanted to know whether or not I was any harm or potential harm to the so-called President of the United States, Obama. And they questioned me, and then they left. Well, the following day, I got a phone call from someone who identified himself as a member of the CIA, and that he had been in my office the day before. And he told me that if there was anything I wanted to do to expose Obama, was to examine the fact that he had not attended Columbia University. And so I went on a year-long search of searching the records, going through the processes of interviewing people and looking at statements that were made by both Fox News and by ABC News, George Stephanopoulos, and I put on a trial. When I discovered he had not attended Columbia University, as he said he had done, the 10th Amendment of the Constitution allows for we the people to carry out the duties of the government if the government fails. If the federal government fails to carry out its appointed duties, then the state government has the right to carry those duties out. If the state government fails to carry those duties out, then we, the people, can form a trial or whatever is necessary to carry out, and the Constitution gives us that privilege. We held a trial at our church that went on for 6 days.
Wow.
While the trial was going on, police sat outside of our door in their police cars, marked and unmarked cars. There were police on top of rooftops all around our building.
Wow.
Pardon me. I'm only referencing that because we were putting in that trial in our church, we had put the president or the alleged president of the United States on trial for treason and sedition.
Yes.
If we were doing anything that was unconstitutional, if we had been breaking the law by putting him on trial, they would have stormed our church, arrested me, and dragged me off to jail, and I'd be in jail now.
Yes.
We did nothing wrong. We did it according to constitutional law. We did it according to state law, and he was found guilty of not having attended Columbia University, and Columbia University was found guilty of complicit fraud, issuing a fraudulent instrument and mail fraud, and a host of other charges. There were 17 all total. And that was back in 2010. The New York Times did cover it in a small way. Salon.com covered it. A number of other newspapers covered it. A number of other news reporters sat there throughout the entire trial. The Washington Post covered it. But beyond that, nobody has done anything. We didn't have the power to arrest. Nobody has done a thing. Yet he's a convicted felon as far as the Constitution is concerned with the trial that we held.
And, this is something that for me, I remember very well what you were doing. We were talking just before you were going to completely pursue the final stage of the trial. And I was so in sense of, for me that was meant a lot. As a new American, I understood exactly, and I was so proud to call you myself as a brother in Christ and also as a brother, as an American brother. Say, this is exactly the America I want to be. This is exactly things we can do in America that you cannot do in any other part of the world. We, the people, at the end, we have that power. We delegate that power to the government. And sometimes we forget, or we are brainwashed, or we're just afraid. And for sure, you are not afraid. And that for me was another very important thing. You gave me the motivation to write a song that I will send you anyway. The CD, the new CD is called Love, Guns, and Freedom. And the song is called I Am Not Afraid. And I pretty much would like to dedicate it to you because you inspired me in that time when I was looking at what you were doing. And I knew about your visit by the Secret Services. Now, you know that people don't just get visited by the Secret Service. Sometimes, lately, they start to die like flies of heart attacks or other very mysterious circumstances. Did you ever feared for your life, Pastor Mannix?
Well, let me try to answer the question this way. I am a preacher of the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ, and contrary to what most church people think, preaching the gospel biblically is a very dangerous business. I mean, after all, they crucified Jesus, they beheaded John the Baptizer, they beheaded Paul, they crucified Peter, they put Daniel in the lion's den, they put Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the fiery furnace.
Yes.
And they have pursued those that preach the gospel throughout the centuries. So I think that if anyone is going to preach the gospel, they must also understand that this is a dangerous business. If you're going to, and not only that, but preaching the truth is perhaps even more dangerous, and the gospel is the truth. You preach truth, you have to consider that one can take your life, or someone can take your life, to stop the truth that you speak. However, if you are convinced that your life is meaningless if you cannot express the truth, especially in a nation like America that allows that to take place. You can't do that in any other nation without immediately being thrown in jail or killed. But I think the way I would want to answer your question is this, is that what is my life if I live it as a coward? If I know the truth, if I know a great atrocity has taken place, and I've done nothing about it because I'm afraid of my shadow, then I don't have very much of a life anymore. So I would rather live my life to the fullest, knowing that any time someone could take my life because I preach the truth. And like Andrew Breitbart, for instance, you know what happened to him.
Yes, and I was going to ask you next.
Breitbart.
What do you think about him? What happened to him? What do you think what happened to Andrew Breitbart?
There has long since been, since the beginning of the Secret Service agency in America, a thing called the heart attack gun, where they can actually be a mile away from you and spot you and shoot you, and your body would go into a rhythm, same as a heart attack or a defibrillator which settles your heart attack. The defibrillator it takes your body and try to bring it back to some sort of electromagnetic balance so the heart will be saved from a heart attack. And I think they killed Andrew Breitbart. I think they wanted to make an example out of him, and they killed him. They absolutely killed him, and they put a lot of other people out of business who saw that and said, well, the same thing may happen to me. I mean, if someone's going to shoot you with a bullet or rob you or this, that, and the other, you might be able to try to find a way to get them out. But if a person can stand on a rooftop and aim a ray at you, I think they killed Andrew Breitbart.
And why? Why do you think? What type of evidence you think? The day after you're supposed to have a big press conference about some evidence against Obama. We don't know. We will never know. What do you think he may have? Just your opinion.
I'm sure it was about the birth certificate, but more specifically probably about his involvement with the CIA, and his involvement with being in Afghanistan with the Taliban when they were known as the Mujahideen.
Mm-hmm.
That's the one thing that I mean, even some of the media will let you talk a little bit about the birth certificate. They won't give you much room about that. But the one thing they will not, that you've not heard one media source talk about, is Obama's involvement in Afghanistan during the time of the formation of the Taliban from the Mujahideens, when the Soviet Union invaded Afghanistan. They will not let that be broadcast. And that's the thing that I think Breitbart, with a news organ and a big name, was about to reveal. And they killed him. They killed him.
Yeah, I believe that too completely. I also believe there is more information here. You know, this Osama bin Laden supposedly got killed by Obama. I mean, there is so much that, come on, even a kid may understand this is a fraud, but you very well articulated some facts. First of all, what do you think about Osama bin Laden? And you really believe that Obama was part of killing him and bring him to justice? What do you think about this?
You know, I think that the American people and the American media have been determined by the Obama administration to be some of the biggest fools that ever lived. The fact that there was a raid in this so-called town called Abbottabad there in Pakistan, and Osama bin Laden was living in a farmhouse with 2 women and a child with no protection, no military, nobody around him, and had been living there for a couple of years, and that the Marines went in and just killed him like that is ridiculous. More importantly, the BBC, the British Broadcasting Corporation, the day after the event took place, interviewed the people there in Abbottabad and interviewed them about the man that was living in the farmhouse. And they said it was not Osama bin Laden. They went in and killed somebody, but it wasn't Osama bin Laden. And then the other thing, they buried his body at sea, which is what Obama did to his grandmother, Madeline Dunham. He buried her body at sea as well. If anybody thinks that Obama has killed Osama bin Laden, then I don't want to talk to you. Because, you know, I mean, did you really think that actually took place? Ain't no way.
It's an insult to intelligence. It's an insult to intelligence. And that's what sometimes really make me feel like, oh my gosh, you know, is it possible? Really, the American people, they are believing this type of garbage? For example, let's just use the logic, even without any type of evidence. Let's just the logic that the evidence that they gave us, the government gave us. First of all, supposedly, Mr. Osama bin Laden is the most wanted person on the planet, and
right.
Okay, so he has a lot of intelligence, a lot of information. I mean, think about, he's supposed to be the ringleader of the evil people of around the world. Okay, the people that the turban they want to come and get us. So the first thing that the Navy SEAL breaking into this building does, shoot him in the face. I mean, what the heck? Normally, you want to keep these people alive. You would give your life to just bringing this man alive, to have the opportunity to interrogate him and, get all the information you want and finally find out the truth about 9/11, all these other things. So right there is no logic. Number 2, why you want to bring this? Look, for example, what happened with Saddam. They did the execution in public. It was a trial, and and everything was public. Why do we have to keep his body secret from the American people? No photos were allowed, besides some photos that look like a Photoshop. And, of course, his body was disposed in the middle of the ocean. I mean, this is another thing that doesn't make any sense. But more important, as you said, there are so many things. Like this man be living by himself 2 years with 2 women in this little farm. I mean, come on, guys. I mean, false flags all over. And this is nothing new. And now, cui bonus? Who is the person who's going to try to benefit out of this? Very simple. This is a political move. The Obama administration tried to bring this as a positive point for the zombies out there. They will really believe that, hey, after all, Obama is a strong man and will defend Americans. So this is something important. I believe that even here, Mr. Braveheart has some information regarding this. But let's not forget about the Navy SEALs. The conspiracy is not over. What happened to Navy SEAL team, the team of Navy SEAL that supposedly broke in, storming into this Osama bin Laden's home, were all by accident killed. Why and how? Pastor Mannings, remind us, please.
Well, allegedly, the Navy Team 6 did actually go into that farmhouse there at Abbottabad.
Yes.
But shortly thereafter, every last member that was in that raid on that farmhouse was on a Chinook helicopter over Kabul or over Afghanistan, and they were shot down, and every last one of them killed, along with, I think there were a couple of other, I think 4 or 5 other Afghanistan people that are on the helicopter as well. But there's no witnesses, there are no live witnesses to the Abbottabad event now that Navy SEAL Teal 6 they all died. You know, a Chinook helicopter and Marines fighting in battle, they are pretty wise to how to keep their helicopters from being shot down and how to protect themselves. For them to be brought down like that and everybody dies and now there are absolutely no witnesses is an insult. But more specifically, to cover up the fact that Osama bin Laden was not killed by Obama, innocent Marines, soldiers, and servicemen had to die so that they could not tell their stories. This is wretched. This is wretched that this man is that vicious and that this government allows it to go on. And don't you think that people in high and influential places in government does not know that this is all a fraud? You just gave a very logical perception. What would have been better than to capture Osama bin Laden? Because the story that they tell was that he was in a room, he reached for a rifle and they shot him in the head, killed him instantly. What would have been better to bring him to trial, to parade him before the American people, to ask him questions about 9/11, to hold a trial? What would have been more powerful than that if they really had him?
Exactly.
So your logic on number one is absolutely point on.
I really believe, Pastor, we are living, I'm not a pastor. I'm a sinner. I'm a regular guy. Normally during my show, I never talk about my personal beliefs. We stick with facts. And today you're not here because you're a pastor. You are here for me today because you're an American and you are not a slave. We are not slaves. The moment that we speak up and we stand up as a free human being, we show to evil that we will not submit. And that for me, you are the example exactly what a free man should be. That's why you're here today. But at the same time, I also realize that, unfortunately, I'm not trying to judge others, but I realize that most of the people out there, they're still living in this sort of a fear/coma, because I would not understand how the rest of the Americans, they still put up with this garbage, with this tyranny, with this deception, because the moment that every one of us wake up and admit the truth, and we stand up, even just having a rant over the YouTube, or just writing a letter to the editor, or just standing up at your city council and telling it the way it is, all these evil would pack their garbage and leave. Because when we wake up, it's not going to be just few of us, it's going to be millions of us. The people that they've been doing evil to us, they fear the light on them. So that's why my point, all you were saying is so logical, so important, but at the same time, sometimes it really breaks my heart to see how many American people still want to believe to these fairy tales. For example, many people really believe that Americans now, especially black people, they are doing better under Obama. What do you think about? After all, I consider you an American, by the way, even if your color is different. I don't want to call you African American. For me, you are plain American, period. But just for the records, for the listeners, since there is no video, Pastor Manning and me, we have a little variation of color scheme. But for me, Pastor Manning is an American brother and in Christ on top. So as an American with a background that you can say better than me, what do you think about American people, the black American people, how they're doing now after 6 years with Obama? Better or worse?
Well, one could look at me at first glance visually and say either I'm a black man or an African American. Mm-hmm. They might say that out of habit just by visually looking at me, but I don't identify myself as such. I am an American, period. That's just all there is to it. I'm an American. I don't identify with those other adjectivist ideas. That's number one. Number two, with respect to the question, are so-called African-American or black people doing better now than they were before Obama? Well, here are some numbers. The unemployment for black men here in New York City is as high as 53% unemployed. The unemployment numbers across the board, even the ones that the government report, and we know that they're never true, that black people are unemployed at the level of 19% unemployment. when the rest of, I think Hispanics are down to 11%, and in general the population, now they're lying at 5.6%. So at 19% unemployment, when you've got 1 out of every 5 black persons without a job, unemployed, and then when you look at the level of jobs that blacks do have, they're earning less money than they'd earned in times gone by. When you also consider the fact that after 6 years of Obama, who was poised to end the racial problems in America, we have more racial shootings, racial problems, racial disharmony than we did prior to his becoming the illegal president. Before Obama, the problems of race had begun not to completely dissolve and go away. I would never misinterpret what was going on racially in America during the time of Clinton or Bush, or even Reagan for that matter. But they had begun to kind of coalesce, and people had backed away and cooled down a bit. But since Obama, racial tensions have exacerbated. And I can tell you this now, black poor people on a whole are poorer, they are angrier, they have less opportunity to interact with white America. Black Americans hate America now more than they did during Jim Crow, which is critical, because if this continued hatred for the white man and hatred for America and hatred for what it stands, and it continues to grow. I mean, if you look at our young people today under Obama and see they have no way possible of integrating themselves into a society of what America has to offer. And so we are far worse today than we were under Obama. But the real kicker here is that Obama doesn't care anything about black people. He has made it clear that he cares nothing about black people. He doesn't identify with them, and he has not a clue on how to help to uplift or to speak the truth to black people so that they can become a better people. So I think that the worst thing of all is that Obama has used black people simply as a vote and has given them less attention than he's given to people coming up out of Mexico, for instance.
You're right.
Or even Muslims in general. So I think it's a tragedy what's happening to black people today. They're better off before Obama.
And I completely agree with you. And this is I want to remind listeners, I'm not here to bash Obama because I don't even support the other side. Bush was as criminal in many areas as Obama. Of course, Obama is a new level of treason. But at the same time, I'm not Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I'm just here stating the facts. And the point is, as a new American who took an oath to defend this Constitution and this Republic, I'm here, and my first duty is to speak up. And this is according to facts. So there is no any type of personal things, you're a Republican, you must not like Obama. No, I espouse Republicans as well. I'm here just for the facts. And that's why I'm here with Pastor Mannings to talk about very important things that we should unite as Americans, regardless our different, variety of color skin, or maybe even sometimes differences of ideas. We do not need to agree on everything. But the first thing we need to understand that Obama is a puppet of global government. It is not here for the interest of the American people. And more important, if we still believe that this is a republic, or supposed to be a republic, pretty much where the supreme law of the land, not just a regular law, we're talking about the supreme law of the land, the Constitution, where every politician needs to uphold, swear an oath before taking office. We have a serious problem here. We still don't know, after all these years, we still never given enough satisfaction and enough proofs and evidence, or real hard copy evidence of his birth certificate, Obama's birth certificate, and really there are many, many more questions never been answered. So that's why we're here. And I would like to also ask you this, Pastor Manning. You already answered to me about this racism, and I agree with you. Obama is using this black-white situation to put us against each other. And I hope my brothers that have, they think that because we are different just because of our color scheme, this is nothing. We need to stop this division. We need to unite as Americans. But I really believe that at the end of the day, we need to understand who is behind Obama. Pastor Mannings, do you believe that there is a global government or a conspiracy called New World Order? What do you think about that?
Well, before I answer that question, I need to tell you that I do have another appointment very shortly, so this will probably be my last answer, and
Please.
I would be willing to, at another time,
No
try
problem.
to
Go
complete
ahead.
this, but I do have another appointment.
I'll let you go.
Having said that, the Bible says in Revelation, I think it's chapter 21, if I'm not mistaken, verses 1 and 2,
Yes.
that there's going to be a new Jerusalem and there's going to be a new heaven and a new earth. And my biblical beliefs and the historical aspect of that particular the prophecy is that God himself is looking to set up a new heaven and a new earth. Having said that, Satan always duplicates what God puts in creation. And by that, I mean he has duplicated that process to put together a new world order. This new world order that Satan wishes to put in order will be absence of constitutional privileges, will be riddled with a new kind of technology of slavery, riddled with a new technology of how to keep people enslaved simply through economic processes and not allowing them access to powers. This beautiful Constitution that we have now, one of the best documents ever written to govern a people, will be slowly eroded to the point where it'll be the rich, the super rich, and the powerful that will rule the planet. And this is the scheme of the New World Order.
Yes.
And anybody, and I don't mean to be insultive to anyone,
Yes.
but anyone who thinks that there is not a global attempt to harness all the power of the people and put them under one rulership rather than having individual borders based on continents and oceans, etc., and also economic and political structures. Anybody who doesn't believe there's a new world order coming isn't thinking very clearly. You'd better wake up. Because once you embrace that and understand, it will at least help you interpret why the government, I mean, even now, our government right now doesn't respect the people, doesn't respect we the people, it doesn't respect the wishes of the people, and there's no such thing as a Republican or a Democrat once you get elected to office. I mean, they all do pretty much what they want to do. They all are getting filthy rich. They're all bowing down to the same world powers,
Yes.
and the people are still running around and haven't seen it yet. So is there a new world order? Absolutely yes.
Yes.
No doubt about it.
Pastor,
no doubt about it.
how people can reach you? I'll let you go. How people can find out your sermons? I know you have a website. Please plug your website or any way that people can reach you. Go ahead.
I can be reached at atla.org. That's A as in apple, T as in Tom, L as in law, A as in apple again, H as in Harry, atla.org. If you go there, our website will give you all the information about who we are, what we do, or you can just Google my name, James David Manning. James David Manning, Google that, or you can just Google ATLAH, A-T-L-A-H, and you'll be able to come up with everything that we do. Listen, thank you very much for having me.
Pastor
I'm sorry that I have such a brief time, but I do have another very pressing appointment that I have to make.
Thank you, Pastor Manny. My prayers are for you and your family. Thank you.
And mine for you and your family as well. God bless you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Take care. Take care. Bye-bye.
There we go. And that was Pastor Manning. Pastor Manning from ATLA. As I said, normally I don't really go to churches, and I'm not here to preach you. I'm not here to tell you what to believe. This is not the show what it's about, The show is about freedom. And first of all, it's freedom of speech. And that's what I said. I do not agree with everything Pastor Manning may say. But let's put it in this way. When it comes down to the political arena, especially exposing Obama and his birth certificate and all the other things that they're supposed to tell us that they're all okay. No, they are not okay. And I tell you, this man is not for Republicans or for Democrats. It's for the truth. And that's what, for me, what is important. Now, another important thing, I want to play a little bit of a speech that now probably people may say, okay, whatever. 6 years ago or so, even before Obama was elected president, Pastor Manning, he used to, and he still does, very very, let's say, controversial YouTubes exposing Obama, also making fun of him. Don't get me wrong. This is not about that I find the enjoyment just making fun of somebody or anybody. This is about freedom and also is about courage. When we have a man like Pastor Manning living, with his wife, in his little church and saying things like this to the most powerful man on the planet, a man that has unlimited almost military powers, at least for sure against us regular people, think about it. And especially now that we have pieces of legislation like the National Defense Authorization Act, that if you don't believe it, 2012, just go check it out. Any one of us, American citizens included, on U.S. soil, we can now, and I've been saying this many, many times, but let me refresh your mind just in case you're the first time listening to the show. Every one of us, American citizens, we can be kidnapped, arrested, and indefinitely detained, that means forever, with no access to a judge, a jury, or a trial, no more due process. And we can be kept in this dungeon pretty much forever. And definitely, we also can be tortured and killed just because, write it down, suspected, not found guilty, just because suspected to be a terrorist or being part of some terroristic organization. And we know very well now that on Homeland Security, in the last at least 8 years or so, the definition of terrorist, especially domestic terrorist, is something much, much wider. I don't need to remind you. Go check it out. So if you believe in Christ, or if you believe in the Second Amendment, if you believe in the Constitution, if you believe that, you don't want to be a slave of a global government, if you believe in the Republic, in freedom, individual rights, property rights, whatever, you are on that list. So that's why it's so important, this show today for me, is to bring you, first of all, a point that we need to remind. We should never let it go, that we still have a man right now acting as a president, Mr. Obama, that never really shows any evidence. And it is not like you're running for a private business, you're running for a public business, the highest, probably one of the highest offices in the world, the president of these United States of America. And we still don't have the birth certificate, the original copy of the birth certificate, and a lot of questions never been answered. And just because the media, they're complacent and they're pretty much, aiding this act of treason, doesn't mean that the reality does not exist. That's why even if with this, my little humble radio show, Love, Guns, and Freedom, I have to say what I have to say, I will at least want to be on the record for posterity that not everybody in this country was, first of all, afraid and was so dumb and stupid to believe the false lies, these lies that pretty much they've been telling us. So no, and I'm so glad that I had with me today Pastor Manning from New York, reminding us exactly his activism. This man is not just been saying and talking about Obama and his birth certificate. He did an investigation. According to the Constitution, he went out there and he also put a trial, a public trial. And this is very important. I really believe that. And that's all I ask him, guys, even if you may not agree or not with Pastor Manning or some of my beliefs. One thing we must at least really understand, First Amendment is something that belongs to any one of us. And you know very well, things that he may say, Pastor Manning or myself, we may say in many parts of the world, we may be persecuted. I mean, right now, on paper, according to the National Defense Authorization Act, we can disappear. This is not a funny game. This is not like a hobby. This is a serious business. Every one of us, we can be pretty much being taken out. And but in some countries, like Italy, for example, just speaking up, just talking about issues that you may not agree. I'm not saying that what Pastor Manning says about homosexuality is right. I have my own beliefs about it. Even I'm not an homosexual. I have a different way to see things. Maybe I'm not a perfect Christian, but that's not the point. The point that Pastor Manning, he has the right to speak up his mind, protected by the First Amendment. And especially with topics that we may be disagreeing. Now, if you try to do this type of things, say this type of things, like, for example, you do a sermon talking about homosexuality that you do not agree, In Europe, you go to jail for hate crime. Seriously, guys. This is not like somewhere on Mars. This is already in Europe. It's been going on for many, many years. And this is exactly what they want to happen now here also in America. They want to destroy completely our God-given rights. And if you're an atheist, you say, no, look, I do not believe in God. That's fine. That's your right. But you still have rights, inalienable rights. The moment that you were born, you have rights no matter what. The Constitution doesn't give us any rights. The Bill of Rights doesn't give us any rights. The Bill of Rights, what it does, enumerate some of the rights that we already had before even the creation of the Bill of Rights or the Constitution. And the Constitution, by the way, what it does, supposed to do at least, to restrain the unchecked power of the government. That's what it's for. So let me play now something that I really enjoy, gave me a lot of joy. Pastor Manning, one of the first speeches of Pastor Manning, talking about Mr. Obama, also called Long-Legged Mac Daddy. Sit down. If you have a beer, open a beer or whatever you want to drink and enjoy it. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna.
Either there's going to be a revolution, Patrick Henry style here in America, where red-blooded, God-fearing, Jesus-loving Americans are going to stand up and say, we're not going to take it no more. We're just not going to take it. And there's going to be riots in the streets, worse than the riots in South Central Los Angeles after they acquitted the cops that beat up Rodney King. You think that and that was black people rioting. You haven't seen anything. And I'm not advocating killing and murder and stealing and robbing. That's not what I'm advocating. I'm just telling you what people are going to do. People are sick of this. People are tired of the long-legged Mac Daddy, kicking them in the face every time he gets up, lying to them. Then you got a bunch of, suck-ups like the MSNBC News, ABC News, and all these media types, and everybody who's looking to be popular and get invited to the White House, sucking up to him all the time. It's sickening. I mean, it's downright sickening to watch this. You can get these white folk all riled up here. I'm going to tell you something. They're going to come in, the white folk get riled up, they're going to, members of the NRA going to come into the black neighborhoods. I'm telling you. The people just tired of this. White people are being pushed around, kicked to the curb, having their rights denied, being called a racist, being walked on, watching their tax dollars go to fund all kind of drug sales, prostitution, illegal immigration. I mean, y'all gonna push these white folk till they can't take it no more. I'm telling you. You fool around here with Obama? You gonna let this long-legged Mac Daddy push these white folk? They gonna come up out of Tennessee and come up out of Oklahoma, come up out of Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, come up out of Oregon and come out of Idaho, California. I'm telling y'all, you're pushing these white folk and you're pushing them. Your long-legged Mac Daddy's pushing them and pushing them and pushing them. And they're going to get, listen, you're going to push people to the point where they're not going to take it no more. These white folk are not going to take it. You're taking their tax money. You're closing down their jobs. You're shutting down their banks. You're telling them what they can and cannot do. You're giving billions of dollars to Acorn. You're taking their tax money and giving it to people to buy drugs. You're killing babies and you won't stop. You're telling lies. And you're demoralizing our nation. You're destroying everything that has made this nation great. White folk getting ready to rise up. They don't want to take it no more. And I'm joining them. Oh, doggone it. I am. I mean, and it's just an insult. It's one thing to have a president that you're okay, all right, he's Republican, you're a Democrat, he's Republican, you disagree on policy. But this man is destroying what God loves. He's destroying the fabric and the fiber of the nation. And he is a prolific, if you will, liar and killer and murderer. Spiritually, politically. I'm telling you, you're going to see an uprising in this nation. And it won't be long now. I mean, you just can't keep pushing folk the way Obama's pushing white folk and the way black folk are pushing white folk. You can't keep doing that. I'm telling y'all, you better.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid.
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Luca-Zanna
I'm not afraid.
and his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Luca-Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
And that was Pastor Manning. And I really mean it, you know. I'm not saying that, as I said, we agree on everything, but I tell you, first of all, the guy is something else. I dare, how many of you would go on YouTube or would go on radio, on network TV, and start to say the things he says about Mr. Obama or any other powerful politician? I have people that I know that they don't even want to pretty much say these things in front of, you know, friends. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying, and this is pretty much the purpose of the show. First of all, it's freedom of speech. And also it's about bringing things that normally you will never hear on mainstream news. And when I say things, I think information, facts. You know, remember, if one day history will be able to pretty much prove all the things that we are saying, and remember, unfortunately, history is written by the victorious, by the winner. So we will know. Hopefully we will win. I know at the end we will win. But one day when we will find out all these deceptions, all these lies, and that Obama is not an American citizen that has the constitutional status to be a president, think about the biggest fraud of history ever perpetrated on the American people. We will find out. And all these unjust laws, the Obamacare, all these executive orders, the amnesty for illegals, and these trillions of dollars that they've been stealing from us, they were just a fraud. They were null and void. Think about it. That's why I want to bring this up. Now, I want to remind you that this show, it is an act of love, first of all. I'm not here because I have any type of, I don't want to become a radio guy or a radio personality or the next, Glenn Beck or whatever. I really don't care. I'm happy already what I have. I'm happy the things I do. For me, this show was an opportunity. It is an opportunity to try to share information together, learn from each other, and more important, trying to have the facts that we need to know to try to be proactive and take our republic and our rights back. It's like almost, let's say, some sort of magic spell I'm trying to do to everyone I know. I don't want to be right. I wish everything I'm saying I'm wrong. I was wrong. But meanwhile, all the facts that I have, I ask you please to disprove them. I ask you to investigate. I ask you to be active, involved, even if you do not agree. At least let's try to find out the things that we can agree. We are all in danger, as I said. Now, this show is supported by you, listeners like you. I want to really push that out because this is not like NPR, National Propaganda Radio, okay? Where pretty much every year billions of dollars or millions of dollars, I don't know exactly how many millions, but a lot of millions of your tax dollar get extorted without your consent, and you're supporting, you want it or not, this National Propaganda Radio, NPR. No, this is a private business, and I'm here because of your support. It's called free market. And if you want to support the show, don't rely on the sponsors, because my goal is to keep this information as free as possible. The only way I can do it, because if every one of us can help me out, and it's very simple. All you have to do is go to www.zanna.us or even go to just lovegunsfreedom.com. You will see there is my music section, okay? And especially if you go to zanna.us, there is my music section, and you can download any of my songs for just 99 cents. Also, I have another website. It's called Zanna, Z-A-N-N-A, art.com. And you can find out now also, I not just sharing with you my music and my songs, but also my visual art, my paintings. And you can also get some of my prints. Anything you can, even just 99 cents, it would make a difference. That's all I'm asking. And, differently from the government that they just point a gun at you and they steal your tax dollar, I'm asking, simple as that. And it's up to you. Now, another important thing I want to say, we must stay healthy. Obamacare pretty much destroyed our healthcare system. Many of us, me included, people that we used to have beautiful healthcare plan. I used to be very happy with my healthcare plan. Unfortunately now, starting from January, maybe we cannot afford any more healthcare. My plan went up from $160 to almost $480 a month. And I'm pretty lucky. I know people pretty much with family and kids, they cannot afford it. And guess what? I'm not affording it myself. I'm out. So we must be conscious to stay healthy. And 1 year ago, almost, let's say 8 months ago, I found out this product. It is incredible. This is not like a medication. You do not need any type of medical prescription, but it is very important. It's a supplement. It's an anti-aging supplement. It's exactly as an activator, scientifically proven. And all I'm asking is to go to check it out. You can find the banner on lovegunsfreedom.com. You will see the banner is called protandemdistributor.us. I've been taking this product for almost 8 months right now. And all I'm saying, check my website, protandemdistributor.us, and see the feedback page, testimonials page. It's amazing. And I'm telling you for myself, I'm 47, and there are a lot of problems out here, chemtrails, weather modification all day, heavy metals in your body, and also 47, you're no more like a kid, okay? Many of you, they feel pretty old. I feel great, regardless, of course, when they heavy spray all day for 2 weeks in a row, but still, I feel much better than I ever felt. This is very important, because they want us sick, they want us broke, they want us dependent. That's what the global elite want us. So we are dependent on them, like cattle. So all I'm saying, give it a try. At least go to the website, protandemdistributor.us, and check it out. And what you gotta lose? For the price of a single coffee a day, give it a shot. For just 30 days, you can give it a very great opportunity to slow down your your oxidative stress. That would be the free radicals by at least 45%. And this is scientifically proven. Now, I already played this song probably a couple of weeks ago, but in honor of Pastor Manning, before we go into hour number 2, I want to play this song again. It's called I Am Not Afraid. And I dedicate this song to Pastor Manning and to every man or woman who is not afraid to stand up against evil and speak up their mind. Because after all they can take is our body, but they will never take our soul. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna, and today it is an incredible Sunday, and exactly is Sunday the 15th of 2015. Don't go away, because second hour we will have incredible information and maybe even a surprise guest that you're going to really like. Loaded show. Ready to go. Lock and load. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna.
I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Yeah, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I can smell pain in the air. People are lost in despair. Dark clouds are on the way. I pray for courage every day. I will fight till my last breath. You give me strength to smile at death. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid. Because you're with me. I'm not afraid. Because I believe in you. I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna on Guerrilla Media Network. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna on Guerrilla Media Network. Here we are. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna on K-Talks 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. I already had on my show this guest. He is a man, and his family, for me, is one of the example of the American spirit to stand up for our freedom against the corrupt government. His name is Ammon Bundy. I had him a few weeks ago, I think probably a couple of months ago, when pretty much him and his daughter, they were in the airport, Phoenix Airport, and they were treated like domestic terrorists. Now we're talking with him about some updates, what's going on with his family and his ranch, and more important, with his right to pretty much stay in the land that's supposed to be Nevada's land, the same land that his forefathers pretty much, I would like to say, use to sustain their lives and their families. Ammon, are you there?
Yes.
How's it going, man?
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Give us some updates first of all. What's going on with your family right now, yourself?
Well, we are ranching, and we finished up the other day the last piece of the piping that the federal government came and destroyed. I don't know if you know that, but they came in actually when they were occupying the land. They destroyed some of the water heads and water rights and began to tear out the water infrastructure.
I remember that. I was there that period. I remember very well. And it was very much sad, you know. That's on top of everything else. Besides killing your animals, also these pipes and all this water system. So you're working on that right now?
Yeah, we just finished the last bit of it. We put in the remainder piping that they had torn out. And so now all of that infrastructure is now functioning the way it was before.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're happy there. We have still seen no hiding our hair from them on the ranch. We haven't seen a government vehicle. We haven't seen any snipers on the hill or any surveillance equipment or any of that. And that's been nice. It's something that we've had to deal with for, 20 plus years. And so we feel more freedom now than we've ever felt just because we stood and the people stood with us.
Question. I know that, first of all, one of your brothers is in jail right now.
He's out now, and it was interesting how they kind of treated him, and just evidence that they're not very happy with American people taking a stand. And that's kind of the same thing that's happened to me with flying. I've flown several times to the Bundy standoff, and each time I'm taken back and interrogated, searched. They actually will take their hand, stick it down my pants, and check my, the full 9 yards. They interrogate me, and it happens every time I've flown. And so I'm definitely on some domestic terrorist list that they go through this.
Since the last
I have
time,
to go through this every time.
Since the last time you were at the airport with your daughter, pretty much it was a disaster. I mean, they treat you like an animal, and you could not even fly, and you realized that pretty much you were on this now no-fly list. What happened? Did you have a chance, or did you have the need to fly again? Did you go to the airport again after that episode?
Yeah, I actually, I felt that it wasn't right for me to just hide from this and say, okay, because of the way I'm being treated, I'm not going to fly. I felt that I needed to, face this head on and confront what was happening, not hide behind a steering wheel because I'm being treated this way. So I have flown, and I am on their domestic terrorist list, and I am treated poorly every time I fly, and I've been in and out of airports quite a bit before and after the standoff, and I've never ever seen anybody go through what I have to go through each time I fly.
Wow. This is very sad, and for the listeners that pretty much they're listening to this for the first time, I mean, Ammon Bundy is a law-abiding citizen. He has no record. All he did is stood with his family to pretty much this act of corruption from the federal government. And at that point, there was Senator Reid was a big part of this plan. And, you can do your investigation, you can do researches, but regardless, even if you believe that the Bundys, they're in the wrong, think about it. This man has never been convicted by a jury or a trial or any type of due process. And now, just because some bureaucrat at the federal level says that he's a domestic terrorist, and the definition now pretty much is pretty wide. Now, every time he goes to the airport, no judge, no jury, no trial, he's treated like a terrorist. This is wrong. If somebody accuses you of something, you should face the accuser. You should have a trial, and then at that point, they can do whatever they have to do. But right now, I find that what's happening to you is scary, eerie, because it can happen to any one of us. Seriously. So that's, for me, the most important thing. Before even we go into this Bundy's standoff issue or not, the fact that a law-abiding citizen not convicted of anything, just because some government rat, he can pretty much put you on that list and make your life miserable. This is not America. That's the first thing. But I am on one question. I know that I think it was the 10th of January, according to the Federal Observer, the area of Nevada, more than 3 million acres in Nevada, is supposed to be pretty much off limits for human consumption, according to that bureaucrat, BLM, that posted this sort of edict. What's going on? Anything happened since then?
Well, they have declared it areas of what they call area of critical environmental concern, ACECs. They did file that into the Federal Registry, and of course this is without legislation, without approval from the people's representative. And so, but the people here in southern Nevada has made quite a bit of uproar about it, and there was several public meetings that the Bureau of Land Management was supposed to go through, and they just bypassed those meetings. And they actually said, well, the reason why we can't have this meeting because the facilities that we were going to hold them in are they're not going to be able to hold all the people.
Wow.
And so they've just bypassed them, and we have yet to hear whether they're going to hold those meetings or not. But they've continued to declare it as areas of environmental concern.
Wow.
Now, what that means to us ranching is it doesn't mean a damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's more of the same thing, and we know that it's our ranch. We've been there for 137 years. You know, our rights are filed by title in the state of Nevada, and we don't care what they do with it. It's wrong, and we're not going to allow them to. And it's proven that the American people will stand with us.
Exactly. This is the moment more important because I believe, this is not going to be over. As much as I know that Senator Reid seems like he's gone for now, and they had a bad accident with his gymnastic athletic equipment, and I don't really know what happened there. Sound very interesting. But regardless, the fact now even Reid is gone, there are still hidden powers, dark powers that they want this public land. This is not something just happened out of the blue with Obama. This is part of a plan that happens exactly since the late 90s, and is part of this Agenda 21 to completely confiscate all the lands of the American people and to create this area that no human beings pretty much can even go there, and a rock or a mouse has more rights than us. That's the bottom line, because this is a complete control of our resources. So unfortunately, I hope and I wish that would go away. I just think it's only a question of time before they will come back. What do you think?
We agree. We know that the Bundy Ranch stands as a symbol symbol of taking away their power, if you will, and it stands in between them being able to continue doing what they're doing or not. And so eventually they will have to put us down if they can, and it'll basically be up to the American people whether they're going to be able to do that or not. We're just a ranching family. We're a simple family. We're 5-generation ranchers, and 6 counting me. My dad's the 5th, and we if they decide to come down with their forces, we can't stop them, but the American people can, and we saw that once, and we know that we're going to have to appeal to the American people again, and we hope they stay aware enough to help us out.
Exactly, and this is very true. They know that. They know that it's just not you, because many other families, before you, they didn't have, I don't say the word luck, but at least the opportunity to be in the media and to have the support of the American people. When you're by yourself, they want you isolated. They want you in a dark room, and that's why they get you good. Instead, we got to keep this alive. And I really want to say now to everybody who's listening to this broadcasting, I don't care if it's today live on the radio or maybe on some YouTube in the near future. When you understand that the Bundys, it is not about the Bundys. It is not about cattle. It is not about religion. It is not about themselves. It's about all of us. If they can pretty much knock down, destroy, annihilate a family like them, tomorrow the sky is the limit. Any one of us will be the next one. So you don't need to be a hero. You don't need to be a Rambo, but you need to be a man or a woman, an American man, American woman, ready to stand up for what is right. And sometimes you don't need to do anything else but just show up. So I say be prepared, because I really believe, and I hope I'm wrong, things are going to go back to the same way we left in April. This time they're going to come in more numbers. And we got to be in more numbers. Remember, it's 280 million of us. Forget about illegal aliens and the idiots. Even if we get 1% between the state of Nevada, Arizona, Utah, just the states, confining states, we would be thousands, more than thousands of us. And when they see us there, they cannot kill us all. That's the bottom line. Because unfortunately, these people, they're evil people. History proves that they kill innocents. Ruby Ridge, let's not forget, they shot a woman holding a child, okay? The Weaver family. And Waco, they killed people, the kids that they wanted to protect, supposedly. They burned them alive in a building. This is true history, okay? And this is coming from a guy that was even born here, and all I have to do is read with my own eyes the propaganda they try to feed us. So this is my point, my dear listeners. I hope you understand this is not about the band, this is about every one of us, and it's our right to be left alone and to pretty much lead a peaceful life. Ammon, how's it doing, your dad?
He's doing well.
Doing well?
Yep. He's he's speaking a lot. A lot of people are wanting from him. A lot of people are wanting to hear from him, and he's hanging in there and doing the best he can to try to help people understand where we're at.
This is important because I now more than ever I think, for you guys, you become like an example of what can happen to any one of us, and going around talking and let this case know to others hopefully may give us a chance to wake up the rest of Americans. I wanted to ask you one more thing, if you don't mind. How is doing Ryan Bundy, your brother? Is he okay?
Yeah, he's doing okay.
Okay, so everything.
He's out, and he will, continue to stand for his rights. It's not easy to stand, and you always pay those consequences. And you get thrown in jail, and people might think, well, you're a lawbreaker, and what right do you have to make a stand? And what right do you have to resist these things? But we have to get over that. We have to understand that the only way to restore our freedoms and maintain our freedoms is to defend them.
I understand.
And it comes at a cost, but it's worth it, and it takes courage to make it happen.
Yeah, and just to give a little bit update of the story, because as you said, there is always two sides of the story. Okay. And unfortunately, not because it comes from a police report, means that every time is the truth. And don't get me wrong, I'm sure many times the police report, they say the truth, but we know very well there is a lot of, the situation with the Bundy is not just an arrest. Everything now happens in that area. There is a political pressure to knock down, to put in bad light, under a bad light, this family, okay? That would be the first thing I always say to everybody, to have some sort of a very open mind to look at the whole information. Now, there was an article that said Ryan Bundy was arrested after allegedly brawling with deputies in the courthouse. You know very well, sometimes just because they tell you go on your knees and you don't want to follow up something that you believe that could be an order that there is no justification, right there is a resisting of arrest. I mean, right now, just because somebody has a uniform doesn't mean that he's God. Doesn't mean that because they say jump, you must jump, especially when you know that there is no right to do that. So I understand that many times the most common sense things to do, because after all, if you're by yourself, you have no witnesses, and they can pretty much do whatever they want to you. It's follow the orders. But sometimes we are humans, and sometimes we also want to do the right thing. So just to give the short story, what happened exactly, according to your version, to your brother Ryan Bundy? Why did he get arrested outside the courthouse?
Well, he had a civil matter. He owned some property up in Cedar City, and he had a civil matter up there where his neighbor was accusing him of having an abandoned vehicle on his property that wasn't registered. Not abandoned, but a vehicle on his property that wasn't registered. So I guess that's some county code. So he went, got summoned and went to the court and basically gave them the information that they wanted. He stood in front of the judge and took care of the matter, and then he left the courtroom, and on his way out, and I'm not sure if it was right before he left, or like he left the building, or like so if he was still in the building, or right after. But he was on his way out. He'd already been in front of the judge. He'd already talked to them about this matter, and 3 police officers pounced on him, literally jumped on him, and started to detain him and say that he has a warrant out for his arrest. Wow. And Ryan instinctively, resisted them and said, what is this all about? I mean, he was just barely in the courtroom, just barely talking to the judge. And he's and they just barely solved the reason why he came to the courthouse. And now he's being jumped by 3 officers. And so he resisted, and he demanded what was the reasoning, what was the reason why they're doing it. And they could not tell him other than he had a warrant out for his arrest.
Wow.
And so he resisted for just a little while, and then they detained him, and then they threw him in jail for the night. And the next morning, the judge, I don't know if it was the same judge or not, he stood in front of the judge, and the judge actually apologized to him for the actions of the court and for the actions of the officers.
Oh, my God. This is serious. I mean, at least they can provoke you. And, you know, what you said is, so there was no even reason to, this was a false arrest, in my opinion. I mean, no, I'm not a lawyer, but what's going on? Go ahead.
And then the court didn't even know the details on the why there was a warrant for him, even at that time. Wow. It wasn't acknowledged until later of what was the reason for it, and the reason for it was another civil matter about a horse that got out of his property over 2 years ago.
Oh my God!
And he didn't know that there was any issue or anything with that. And so anyway, it just goes to show that where we're at, you know, and they could have just as easily walked up to him and said, "Hey, did you know you have this other issue and that there's other things? Why don't we go back in the courtroom and go, you know, talk these things through as well?"
Exactly.
Or the judge could have just taken care of it right then. Or, to be honest with you, the whole matter it was just frivolous in the first place. I mean, if you look into it, I won't waste the time giving you the details, but it was so simple to take care of it, and yet here we are, government force once again, you know, actually detaining a man, taking away his liberty, and throwing him in a jail, and they don't even know why.
And this is exactly why I wanted to talk about this, because, you know, when you read the news, you always read the headlines, and you always read the sensational case. You know, son of a Nevada cattle rancher, Ammon Bundy, arrested in Utah. Boom. That's it. This is a Las Vegas Review-Journal. Then, when finally, the day after or whenever the truth comes out, like you were just saying, and there is pretty much now, we know that there was no even the reason, and the judge apologizes about this arrest, that for me was a false arrest in the first time. Guess what? They don't talk about this. If you find you know, if you find something maybe at the end of the newspaper, maybe the day after, if you're lucky. So this is a demonization. This is, unfortunately, is used as a political instrument to ruin your reputation. And more important, to also try to push the limits of a human being, because, you know, we are humans. We are smart most of the times, but sometimes we have instinct. It's called survival instinct. If somebody jumps on me with no reasons, and not because as a uniform means that, oh my gods, they love me. No, these are still human beings that jump on me. And if I ask you, why do you jump on me? We don't know. I mean, the first instinct is to defend yourself, or at least ask questions. And now, you know, I'm glad that nobody got hurt. I'm glad that Ryan, you know, was somehow able to control himself, and things went okay. But, you know, the moment that you just refuse to comply with an order with the deputy, your God, you pretty much, I mean, I'm being sarcastic here because unfortunately, I'm not trying to be funny, but it's serious. There is a point that's supposed to be a limit of the power the officer has, because he's still a human being. We must respect, we must comply, but not because I do not comply on everything he says, I'm going to be a resisting arrest and have a felony on my record. I mean, there is a little bit too much power sometimes out of control. And that's what could have happened there. So I'm glad that everything went okay, but I would like to always say to the listeners, please, do not believe everything the newspapers or the news, even myself say. Always verify, double check, do your researches, and understand also why they're saying what they're saying, what is the political situation. Ammon, listen, I thank you. I pray for you and your family, and I always say, please, if you can keep us posted on anything's going on, even if sometimes seems like a minor thing, because unfortunately, you know, the government, as much as it's incompetent, it's like a big machine. And when he's on the course, it's like the Titanic. It keeps going. It may take time, but I believe that unless there is an act of God, these bastards, they're not going to be gone. And we got to keep an eye on them and be prepared. So I hope you can keep us posted, and I pray that we just, you know, you're going to be there doing your business, and nobody needs to come there, because everything's going to be fine. But if things are going to get interesting, I pray that the American people will follow the call. And I want to give you the floor for the last statement. Go ahead.
Well, I just thank you for your time. And if I was to say one thing and I try to identify maybe something that would mean something, I would say that the government is not the problem or the solution. It is the courage of the American people. And until we're willing to stand and make sure that these things don't happen to us, they will continue. And the reason why they've happened to us up to this point is because we have allowed it. And that's pretty much all I have to say.
Perfect. And just before I forgot, I'm sorry. This new Congress, this new Republican Congress, do you see any difference? Did they even bother your congressman, senator, and forget the senator, but anyway, your representative at federal level from Nevada? Did you have any type of contact, or they are working on this issue, or they just pretty much ignore you?
No, we have had contact on both the state, actually quite a bit. That's why I've been flying mostly. Mm-hmm. But the more we get into this, more we realize that the elected officials have very little power to make a difference. Because these bureaucrats and the lawyers within them completely manipulate and scare the elected officials into following the precedent.
Wow.
And so it doesn't matter what bill you present. It doesn't matter how much political influence you get behind them. The bureaucrats, and especially the lawyers inside these bureaucrats, and I'm talking about on every level, county, state, federal, they are very powerful in getting and manipulating the elected officials to doing what they want rather than what the people want and insist.
Exactly. This is the truth, guys. There is no more really a separation of powers. Congress pretty much becoming almost just some sort of a show. And the president is acting as a king. And more important, all these agencies now, non-elected bureaucrats, people, are pretty much, they think that they're new lords, overlords, like in the Middle Ages, come and tell us how we can live our life. This is luca-zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom, and my guest was Ammon Bundy. Thank you very much, Ammon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really click.
And that was Ammon Bundy. This is the second hour of Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna. Normally we talk about guns and training, but today I felt very important to share these updates from the Bundy's family. Why? First of all, this family, it is not about themselves. You may agree or not with them if you want, that's fine. That's not the point. This is the point now that we are facing as Americans, a new level of tyranny. Regardless what you think about their situation with, the fees, the grazing fees or whatever, I want just to let you know this. When we had, a few months ago, about almost 3 months ago, the situation where a local medium-level bureaucrat from the BLM, Bureau of Land Management, that pretty much now it feels that is some sort of a semi-god, and just with some ink and paper, he can fill up an application, put it on the National Registry, and declare that 3 million acres, they are pretty much now off limits for human consumption. This is not even the king used to do that like this. Obama, he does executive orders like a king. We know that. But now think about it. We don't even need anymore the king from Washington, D.C. Or we have some local scumbag, BLM, supposed to be our servant, working for us, high-paid, overpaid bastard. I really believe that, and this is my opinion, of course, nobody else's. He goes out and he really thinks that he pretty much can boss us around like a bunch of slaves. Guess what? We are not your slave, and that's why we're here, to remind you. That's why this show is called Love, Guns, and Freedom. We talk about freedom. We talk about our rights. We talk that this republic, because it's still a republic in my book, we should never let this happen. We will stand up together as Americans. I really believe that. I don't care if you're left, right, or center. This is about now the power of a man to act like a king. I don't care if you are, whatever you are. We should stick together on this one. That's all I ask you, please. Now, second hour, it's about guns. And normally we do some sort of information, training, news. The point is why I'm so adamant about the Second Amendment. It's not because it's a hobby. I enjoy shooting around, and wasting a bunch of money on ammo and guns. No, for me, the Second Amendment is about freedom. It's about a right that nobody else in the world has. This is not a privilege. It's a God-given right. If you do not believe in God, that's fine, but it's your unalienable right as a human being, free human being. Don't forget, the first gun control started it after the Civil War. The permits, the license was to be sure that slaves, they were never going to be armed. Think how racist is that. I mean, that's the idea. They wanted, the first gun control was exactly created for slaves. Because when a slave is armed, becomes a free man. That's the point. Now, in the second hour, my goal is to share with you training. I know this is not a school or in classroom. I am not an instructor. As I said many times, I am probably a professional student. I dedicated many of my hours of my life studying, going to classes that many people sometimes cannot afford. I'm a life member, I'm a guardian member at Frontside, Nevada, and more important, my attitude is that I want to learn from anybody out there, everybody out there. I'm like a sponge, okay? Now, what I'll do, first of all, I want to share what I know. And don't get me wrong, this information that I'm sharing with you right now over the radio about gun training, it is not substitute for an instructor or for a real class, but at least can give you the opportunity to start to think what you do not know. And maybe just at the theoretical level can give you some information. I would like to remind you that I just launched a new website. Maybe you say, oh my gosh, another one. Yes, another one. It's called handguntraining.tv. Okay? What I do, I share this information on this website. It is about sharing, first of all, video, tactical video, training videos, and blogs with articles. I'm writing a book, okay? The book is about handgun training, of course. And there is all the curriculum of the 4 basic handgun training class that I distinguished several times at Frontside, Nevada. When I say basic class, it is not that basic. I mean, it may be basic for Frontside, but I'm telling you, if every gun owner in America would be a distinguished Frontside member, graduate from handgun, we would have really no need for so many law enforcement, as they want to be called, or peace officers, because an armed society not only is a polite society, I really believe, but especially when you have gun owners that are responsible, educated, and trained, we can have a safer society. I really believe that. Scumbags hate trained, law-abiding citizens. Now, this is the point. Today's show, in the second hour, it comes down to guns. I wanted to share with you an article that is going to be pretty much on handguntraining.tv. This is called The Color Code of Mental Awareness. Okay, this is something that you can apply to any type of martial art. It is about any type of concept of self-defense. It doesn't matter if you study handgun training or rifle or shotgun. The idea of a concept of self-defense. What is the best fight? The best fight is the one that you can avoid. There is nothing to be ashamed. I mean, we are not here to try to create a confrontation. As law-abiding citizens, we must understand that when we have to resort to a deadly force, there is always some sort of a loss. We could avoid that. The real winner is when you can avoid a confrontation. It's good for everybody. less stress, less drama. More important also, life, I think, is always precious. But there are situations that, unfortunately, you are forced. You cannot do any other thing. But when you put, for example, in the corner, you cannot run. Or there is an innocent out there that he needs your help. Of course, this is a private call. That's why training is so important, because when you at least master the concept of marksmanship and tactical training, then at that point you can make an accurate decision if you want to intervene. It's already risky, okay? Everything can be very, very liable and dangerous. You better know the laws. You better know everything, but it's your moral call. Now, as I said, the best fight that we could have is the one we can avoid. How simple is that? So when we are forced to be in the fight, I think we already lost a little bit because maybe we were not able to see it coming. Now, this information pretty much that I'm going to share right now, this color code of mental awareness, was it is part of the frontside curriculum that I attended in pretty much almost every basic class. And this time we're talking about the 4 days defensive handgun class. So the first thing we need to realize, if you are a person who is willing to defend yourself and the innocent, that we need to admit our reality. And the reality is the evil, it is real. We are not living some sort of utopistic Mary Poppins movie where everything is nice and harmless and pretty much, you know that nobody wants to really kill you or to rape you or just torture you. I mean, things, you know the story, read the news. So when we understand this is so important. Why? Because if we are surprised, that means when something is going to happen, if something is going to happen, let's say somebody is trying to stab us and kill us or whatever, you don't want to be surprised. Let's say, oh my God, this cannot happen to me. It cannot happen. I mean, people cannot be so evil. Why they want to kill me? Why they want to harm me? Unfortunately, they are scumbags. They love it. They really enjoy it. It's part of their nature. So you don't want to have any more that type of state of mind that you're surprised. So once you're already creating your mindset that things unfortunately can happen, evil is present, at that point you already know that you are programmed to do things that you already been training for. So now we go to these colors of mental awareness. There are 5 basic colors. First of all, condition white. I call it the condition of the walking zombie, the clueless. The person pretty much that is not aware of reality. For example, look around, look all these kids, or even men and women, doesn't matter, with a new little cell phone, smartphone for dumb people, I call it. They're all texting, completely distracted at the post office, or maybe waiting for their bus, or whatever, in the parking lot. For example, let's see, give another example. You see people like, getting out of the store or the mall or grocery store, parking lot, walking with their cell phone in the right hand. By the way, normally is the strong hand or the firing hand, I would call it. And the other hand, they're carrying probably the cart and they're looking at the sky and they don't notice that there is maybe that, person coming towards them. Very, very suspiciously, smells probably, doesn't look that clean, and is asking for money, and nothing wrong. I mean, there are people that they, unfortunately, can be beggars, but wait a second. Never let somebody get close to you, especially when you're so clueless, especially because you already know well somebody at that distance may just get out of their pocket a knife, you're dead. I don't care how fast you are. So meanwhile, this is the situation. You're completely clueless and you don't notice anything around you. And boom, out of the blue, you realize that you've been stabbed or you've been pretty much mugged, or maybe from the back you have 2 more friends of the scumbag that pretty much they will put a knife in your back. So this is the example of condition white. This is the most deadly situation that any one of us, let's be honest, sooner or later or in the past, we've been there, okay? And I admit it, before, even when I didn't go to classes, I was trying to be aware. I never really realized how fundamental this condition is to avoid. By the way, these levels of code, these 5 levels of mental awareness, originally they were created by a great, one of the most important probably gunsmen and instructors and also gun personality that we had in this century is Colonel Jeff Cooper, just to let you know. But of course, from sight, and many other schools, by the way, they've been readapting it and also try to make it maybe even just more personal. So anyway, first of all, condition white, the clueless zombie. You don't never look around, you don't understand, you don't realize, you put your headset, you just, you listen to your music while you're walking around, and you're just lucky. Nothing happens to you. You're exactly the most perfect victim that a criminal could dream. Okay? You are a prey. You are easy market. That's it. Remember, the average gunfight normally lasts no more than 3 seconds. When you realize that you are under attack, if you're lucky enough to realize it, it will take at least a couple seconds for you just to react. Then you have less than a second probably to just try to do the right thing, present your gun or whatever martial arts skills you have. It's still less than a second. So the enemy, the bad person, already is being pretty much on top of you. Now, what exactly you should do? Start to practice. When you notice that you are in condition white, start to avoid it and help yourself with also maybe your wife, your girlfriend, or just even by yourself. But be honest. Try to train yourself. Avoid to be in condition white. Now, second condition is the condition yellow. This is pretty much where we should all be, okay? And it's not really difficult. I mean, seriously, it is almost fun. And after you get used to it, it becomes natural, okay? I would call this condition like relaxed and alert. That means we are not in panic mode. We are not in paranoid mode. But we scan the environment. We are aware of our surroundings. For example, you walk down the streets. Your hands, for example, are free of objects, okay? No more carrying things that can be, or if you carry things, you can drop it immediately if you have to. So you look around. Don't put your headset with a little iPod or music that pretty much make you completely living in some sort of surreal world, isolating you from the outside. You want to be always listening because that's another way to anticipate problems. Use all your senses. Not just your eyes, but also your ears and the smell. Sometimes, criminals don't like really much hygiene, so you may smell them probably even when they just try to crawl on you from the back. So anyway, so let's say, for example, you're walking outside this mall or grocery shop, and yes, you carry your cart with your, let's say, support hand, I would say. So you leave your foreign hand available, ready to go. And more important, you look around, you see that person coming towards you that is trying to pretty much distract you with something. You keep looking at them. You don't want to be aggressive, but at the same time, you want to let them know that you're watching them. At the same time, you want to also scan your environment to be sure that there are not, some of his bodies try to pretty much attack you from the back. Remember, rats like to walk in pack, okay? So when there is a scumbag, always start to believe that there are maybe more than one, okay? So this is pretty much the idea. Be aware of your environment and be sure that you let them know that you are aware. You are not a prey. You look around, and at that point, right there, you're going to cut pretty much down the chances to be a victim by probably at least 60-70%. Because remember, scumbags want praise that they are easy. They don't want to fight. They want to just pretty much take advantage of easy victims. Then, of course, there is always the dedicated criminal. And at that point, the situation, we must have a different escalation of color. And I would call this one the condition orange. Two things that are very important in the condition orange. First of all, you must create an evasive maneuver. So you can force your potential attacker or attackers to show his true intention. For example, you're driving around with your car, minding your business, and then out of the blue you see, for example, this black SUV following you with 3 men in the back. They look kind of suspicious. everything should be normal, but something tells you that maybe these people, they are following too much. Sometimes, they're just coincidence. You don't want to get paranoid, but you're noticing. So at that point, what do? You create an evasive maneuver. You want to be sure, instead of going straight home, let's just maybe try to turn left, just because you want to create an opportunity to see if they're really turning there too. They're following you. Yes, they turn left. Okay, now let's turn left again, or right. And you see, again, this car is really following me. Well, at this point, you escalate to condition orange. That means you start to suspect, or you have a good reasons to believe that there is somebody that wants to harm you. So the first thing is the evasion, and you're doing it. Second thing, you must create a simple but effective plan that you will put in action in case you realize that you have a real danger. So at this point, you know that they're following you. Meanwhile, automatically you start to think, what am I going to do? Am I going to go straight home with my car and show also my address where I'm living? Or maybe I should have, first of all, a plan. And this is just an example, of course. One thing I would do, first of all, keep distance. Let's say there is a red light. Never get too close in front of you, or the car in front of you. Be sure you leave enough room in case you need to maneuver, an emergency maneuver, and get out of there. And guess what? At that point, you see that you stop at the red light, and one of the doors of the car, of the SUV with these three suspicious bad people is opening, and two of the guys get out, and they're coming towards you. But you were expecting it because you are in condition orange, and you have a plan. And what is your plan? Get out of there. Get out of Dodge. Even if you have to, do some sort of a strange, funny driving, get out of there. And at that point, start to have your cell phone ready, your 911 call, give the description of the car, give the description of the people that follow you, get the license plate, and more important, also get your gun, maybe, because this is part of an hypothetical plan, your handgun, ready to go on your seat, maybe covered by a newspaper. Of course, I'm not giving you legal advices. Every state is different, especially when it comes down to gun laws. But in Arizona, yes, we can keep our guns like that in our seat belt. In our seat, on our seats, driving seats or whatever, okay? We don't need any permit for that. Anyway, that's the point. This is just an example. So instead of driving back home, go straight to the police station. So this is the condition orange, okay? So we are pretty much having a plan. Doesn't mean that we need to execute this plan. Doesn't mean that we're going to attack, but at least we try to avoid the fight. Now, think about it. At this point, the average criminal, when he's aware that you are aware, he may probably be gone. Doesn't want to go that. It's going to be difficult now. He may know also that you're armed. So it's a kind of a risky business for them. But let's say this criminal is really dedicated. He really wants to harm you or get your stuff. We got to be ready to go in condition red. Okay, condition red is the level of mental awareness that you reach when you know that the threat now is real. There's no more doubt. They're after you. In the condition red, you must set pretty much a mental trigger. That means drawing a line in the sand. Okay? If you don't draw this mental trigger, when this moment of the truth arrives, it means when you should be the shooting or fighting back, whatever you have, or should be the running, whatever, you may just be talking to yourself, and you may be dead. Okay? So this is very important. For example, I'm going to do this if my opponent does that. Okay? So, this is it. So let's say, for example, I don't know, you are in a restaurant. Of course, you're in condition yellow. Of course, you take a good seat that you can view the entrance. You're close to the exit. You have your back covered, probably by the wall. You're with your lady. And out of the blue, you see a suspicious guy walking inside, maybe, with a long coat, trench coat. But the problem is, it's summertime. Interesting. Summertime in Arizona with a trench coat doesn't look that right. Something's going to say, maybe we have a condition, orange. At that point, you don't even need to do anything. This person, you start to see that there is, under his coat, something shiny, maybe a shotgun. Well, at that point, you must have a plan. Don't get me wrong. Sometimes people, they are little, like to have open carry or constitutional carry or even concealed carry. We can still legally carry even a shotgun. But let's be honest. Somebody with a trench coat, maybe in a restaurant, you must have a little bit of suspicious there. So at this point, you must have a plan. And the plan is the moment that this guy get his shotgun in his hands, that means it's no more slung on the sling. That means we're talking about now we're talking about handling and ready to completely brandishing a weapon. I'm not going to guess anymore. There is something that is wrong. You got enough information, at least enough reasonable cause to articulate that somebody in a restaurant dressed with a trench coat and he starts to put in his hand a shotgun or a rifle in his hands, well, I don't think he's a smart person for starter. And no, this is not Halloween and this is not a game. Okay, so you must have a plan. What are you going to do? Are you going to engage or are you going to get out of that exit door? Whatever plan you have, you must set at that point a line in the sand. The moment that that person with a trench coat, this is just hypothetical, of course, is going to look for that, handle that gun, you already have your mindset ready to go. There is no more talking, okay? So this is the condition red. Now, condition black, okay? This is at that point when your opponent has pretty much crossed your line in the sand. That's it. At this point, you have to you have to go straight to your combat mindset. The combat mindset is that now there is no more talking, there is no more reasoning, and there is no more even the idea of surrendering. You do everything you have to do to close that fight. They may start the fight. Normally the bad guys are the ones that start the fight, but you be sure you're going to be the person that you will end and finish that fight. Even if you get wounded, even if you get scratched, you cannot stop. Because sometimes happens, you go in a knife fight, you're going to get cut. In a gunfight, you may be wounded. The point is not who's going to be wounded or not. The point is the winner is going to be the one that even if you're hurt, you still keep fighting. Because your body is resilient. Sometimes we are trained, watching these movies in Hollywood. Oh, bang, I'm being hit. Boom, you stop. Think about it. If you go down, your family may follow you. Your friends, the innocent, may die. So you got to do everything you can to stay in the fight. And of course, we try to avoid that. But at the same times, these are the 5 colors on mental awareness. The color code on mental awareness. I think probably one of the most important things I learned from sight. Because when we are aware of our environment, we have the chance to avoid a fight. And I think this is, for me, the best victory. There is no really, when you're into a fight, means that pretty much you were negligent maybe to see it coming. Sometimes there is nothing you can do, but sometimes I really believe we can avoid it most of the times. So, and you can find this article, by the way, as I said, go to www.handguntraining.tv. And by the way, as I said, this website, like also the show, it's an act of love. I try to share things that I learn and information that I really like to bring to you. And by the way, this is not a game. As I said, when we talk with people like Pastor Manning or the First Hour or, Ammon Bundy. I mean, look at this. Ammon Bundy became a domestic terrorist just because he was standing with his family for his rights. Pastor Manning, he got visited by the Secret Services just because he's speaking his mind. He's exercising his First Amendment, bringing facts and proofs about Obama's birth certificate and corruption. This is not a game. Okay? And I'm not trying to say, oh my God, pray for me. No. All I ask, please, guys, if you understand this is not a game, try to do my best, even with my limitation, to bring you the show. Support the show. All you can do, guess what? Go to my website. You can go to, for example, www.zanna.us and download any of my songs for just 99 cents. In this way, you will support the show, and I appreciate your help, and I'll be able to bring more and more information, and I hope it's going to be valuable to you. So, this is pretty much everything for today. Now, I would like to remind you that we have the final hour about love, and I will be broadcasting straight from my chicken coop in Golden Valley, Arizona, because I will be talking with my chickens regarding something very interesting that has been happening in Mojave County, especially in the area between Kingman and Bullhead, and exactly over Golden Valley. We had the Navy doing exercises, training with their airplanes and their students. And as I said, nothing against the Navy, but we have some little problems. My chickens are complaining. And it is more than that. There is more information. And this also we will talk about some love, some music, and also some great tips on how to be self-efficient and independent with fun. Okay? My cats say hi. So don't go away. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna. Ciao.
Back to Calico, I will go. Another day on the road. Another day under the sun. You bring your dreams, I'll bring my gun. Back to Calico, I will go. Wind and desert, and just my horse. Yeah, I'll ride to hell to find my love. Back to Calico, I found my home.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman.
I'm not afraid.
And a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth.
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Gianluca Zanna.
I'm not afraid.
And his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download, or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. John luca-zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with John luca-zanna on Guerrilla Media Network.
Have you ever met someone on an online dating site and thought, wow, this guy is perfect for me, or she is simply amazing, only to find out they were hiding a deep, dark secret? They plan to vote for Hillary. FreedomLovers.us was created for singles who want to exchange ideas and a love for freedom. People who are looking for solutions to create and defend freedom in the real world, and at the same time getting that once-in-a-lifetime chance to find their true soulmate. Whether you are interested in meeting your soulmate, making new friends, networking, or hanging out with that like-minded liberty lover, visit FreedomLovers.us. It's the first free dating site and community. So patriots, don't waste your time with other dating sites. FreedomLovers.us is the place where like-minded singles really...
Hi, this is luca-zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom. Final hour for today's show. We've been talking about, the airplanes from the Navy flying over Mojave County, especially between Kingman and Bullhead City. And, of course, for many residents of Golden Valley, it's been kind of a nice surprise. Many of us here in this area, there are a lot of veterans, we support our soldiers, that's not the point. But, it's good to have an open conversation about when it comes down to also the rights of the citizens. And also we want to understand more what's going on. And we found a lot of help directly from the office of the main responsible that pretty much they are in charge of this operation. And I have with me today Lieutenant Brynn Olson, that she's for the Public Affairs Officers for the Chief of Naval Air Training Command, also called CNATRA. Lieutenant Olson, are you there?
I am. Thanks for having me, Luca.
Thank you very much. And I really appreciate your time because, as I said, there is a lot of, like everything can become controversial. And I'm trying to have an open mind for everything. First of all, we understand we need to have places where our many uniform can exercise and train. This is part of our defense. At the same time, a lot of conflicts of opinion, especially in Mojave County, we'll be having, because some of these areas, like, for example, the area of Golden Valley, that is pretty much between Bullhead City and Kingman, is kind of a residential area, even it's pretty spread out. And we've been receiving a lot of phone calls regarding more information about what's going on with this Navy exercise with your airplanes. So I think what would be the best person to give us some information would be you. So you can pretty much give us some facts. First of all, did I spell right your name? Just to be sure I got it down right.
Yes, BRYNN-OLSON, and I am a Navy lieutenant, and I work for the Chief of Naval Air Training, which is in Corpus Christi, Texas.
Perfect. So you are right now in Corpus Christi, Texas. Perfect.
I am.
Very good. So now, first of all, tell us a little bit exactly what is this type of training. I know that we have in front of us like a propellant. I remember when I used to be a student as an air pilot. This is, of course, it's a visual training or also instrumental training we're going through today with this type of airplane.
Currently, you have the aircraft is called a T-6 Texan, and it is an aircraft that we use for primary training.
Yes.
Primary training is the training that we do before we send our students to advanced training, which would be aircraft like jets or maritime that have multi-engines. So what's important to remember about this type of training is that it really requires good visibility. And that is why we chase good weather in the winter in the hope that we're able to continue producing the number of aviators that our fleet really needs.
Perfect. Okay, so you need visibility. That's great. Of course, we have also great weather here. Normally, winter, they're pretty nice and mild in Mojave County, Arizona. I have just a question. You said visibility. This is something very important. Many of us, even some public officials here in the county and the state level, we are very aware of weather modification operations, also geoengineering. Some days they are very clear. Okay, we have the best sky. Some days, and I've been witnessing, even when your pilots train, we have a very big problem with this weather modification. Are you aware of that?
I'm not sure what weather modification. Are you talking about flying lower rather than higher?
Talking about, there are different federal programs that pretty much the last 10 years they're using airplanes to shield different type of probably sun rays and modify the weather. In our state of Arizona, we have permits that you can directly download from the state website. They were pretty much, you can ask for a permit and work as a weather modification. Could be for agricultural purposes, could be for geoengineering purposes. Pretty much is something that it's very simple to obtain. I also talked to the company that in Nebraska, they pretty much work as contractor with this weather modification program. I just was wondering if you were aware of it. I mean, this is not the main topic of the interview.
Right.
Are you?
No, I'm not, but it sounds interesting, and I'll look into it.
Yeah, look into that. This is weather modification, and it's something that is used for civilian purposes, also for military purposes, just for the record. Anyway, now, talking about this training, how many pilots do you have pretty much they're going to be training the next, I think, another 2 months, right? I mean, when is going to be over this operation?
Mid-March is when these will conclude, and we have our pilots come in and out. So at any given time, we have 25 aircraft, and 20 of those each day are scheduled to fly 3 times, which is about 60 total flights a day with 25 instructors, and we send 70 to 80 students at a time, and they switch out based on what phase they are in their training.
So it's like some sort of recycling, always new students you have, pretty much. It's not.
We're very efficient. We're very efficient. That's the point of this. This isn't a fun trip. This is a work trip. So we are very good at getting our students in the air, completing the hours they need and the training they need, and then getting them back here to continue. So
the average student, how many hours does it receive of basic training with this platform of airplane?
That's a good question, and I can certainly get you an answer. I just don't have it right in front of me.
No problem. If you don't have just curiosity, I like that. Because
I'll get it quickly. Ask me again, and I'll have it for you.
I wish when I did my private license, I had somebody like the Navy paying for my instruction. That would be great. That's very nice. Anyway, exciting. Now, I have another question. We're talking about little bit of concerns, of course. These are airplanes, they are mechanicals, and of course students, they're always followed by instructors, as you said, but it's always a human component. I mean, I know that accidents have happened in the past and can happen any times. Now, what do you think about, first of all, the safety? What you can tell us about flying over for a long term of time over residential areas where pretty much people may be concerned about the safety of their homes? What do you think? What is your official opinion about that?
It's actually much safer than it seems. When we think about it, us folks here on the ground, and I'm not a pilot, so I'm one of us, we imagine that it's very dangerous for aircraft to be over us, but that's not the case because the Federal Aviation Administration has a very good chart of all of our airspace. And it's just like having a road that's above our heads, and it's very important that it be tracked properly. So when we look above us and we think, oh, there's an aircraft 2,000 feet above my house, that aircraft is being tracked by the FAA. It's in that location because that's the safest location for everyone. That means that there's less of a chance of it conflicting in the same airspace as another aircraft. That means that it's a good location where it can find an emergency place to land. There's a number of factors that go into that, but we're very, very careful, and that's why, thank goodness, we have such a safe aviation program in the United States. It's because we're so careful, and we track our airspace as well as we probably even better than we track our streets on the ground. Okay,
that's interesting. And just a question, what is the minimum FAA distance, height that an airplane, any airplane, but I think also for your airplanes, they're supposed to fly above the average building? Are you familiar
It
with
actually differs on the location and the population.
Okay.
So sometimes it's 500 feet,
Mhm.
sometimes it's 1,000, and sometimes it's 1,500 or even higher.
Mm.
And you can look up a chart of your local area online, and you can determine what area you live in, per se, and see what height above the ground that they're going to be at. And you'll notice they'll follow that exactly.
So
The
probably
flight path is
here
What's that?
I would like to say probably here in Golden Valley, the area between Kingman and Bullhead, that is pretty much supposed to be desert and flat. We don't have any big higher structures. I'm guessing should be probably 500 feet, don't you think? Could be that?
I'm sorry, how many feet?
I think 500. I mean, according to my experience, I'm guessing, since we live in this rural area, that there are no really big structural buildings and it's all flat, I'm guessing maybe we're in the 500 feet here in Golden Valley area, but I'm just guessing, of course.
Probably not over houses, but it probably differs throughout Golden Valley, and there are probably some locations that are 1,000 feet or more, and some that are 5.
So let's say in case there is a problem, let's say an engine, since it is a single engine, of course, failure, they still can find a way to land somewhere. They can
Yes,
still
and that's
glide.
one of the things that we're training them on. And so they get very, very good at it, and it's very rare, thank goodness. But the instructors are so skilled at that. That's why we don't see these things in the news.
Okay.
Because they so rarely happen. And when they do, the instructors and the students even have enough hours that they're so good at knowing what to do in those emergencies that they keep the rest of us and themselves safe.
Okay, so anyway, we are glad to know that everybody so far. Any accident that you can tell us lately, something that happened the last few months? I know there was one in the Texas Ocean, I guess, in the Gulf.
There was. It was, I think, more than a few months ago, but we did have a mishap here in Corpus Christi.
Yes.
And it was one of our students and an instructor, and they were flying out over the water and doing one of their maneuvers, which is one that they tend not to do over. They're very high, first off. I think they have to start at over 2,000 feet, so they're very high.
Okay.
And they were doing a maneuver, and there was an issue with the aircraft.
Nobody
and so
got
they
hurt?
did have.
Nobody got hurt?
No one got hurt more than the typical injuries that you'd expect from having to go ahead and ditch the aircraft and parachute into the water.
Okay.
But other than that, no, we were very lucky. They were very, very skilled and knew what to do.
Okay.
And they also were in the location they needed to be for that maneuver. So
Very good, very good. We're glad to hear that. Now, March is over, and do you plan, not you, but the office is planning maybe to come back for the next year in the area? I mean, what do you think?
we currently don't have any plans,
No plans.
to come back in the coming year. That could change, but we usually actually go to Las Cruces, which is why y'all haven't seen us before.
Yes.
So we'll see in the coming year where we are production-wise, and they will determine based on what services can be provided, a whole number of factors. As to whether or not we'll be back there.
Very good. Okay, just at least people know what's going on. And, we're always interested to know what's going on because also these are pretty much the communities where we live. And Bullhead and Kingman, they're pretty much small places. And you say pretty much about, 100 international students any given time you have. What do you think in this lapse of time that we have during these training exercises? Any type of international students we have in our area from NATO countries or any other countries?
You are currently hosting Training Air Wing 4, at least a couple squadrons from Training Air Wing 4. And they train both primary and advanced. And they currently are training 14 international students, most of whom are Italian.
Wow.
So there's a good chance that, as these students rotate in and out, that there will have been a few Italian students coming through as well. That's one of the services that we provide for our international partners.
Maybe I should go there and hang out with them. Now that I know that there are some Italian guys, I can practice my Italian again. That's interesting.
Yes.
So anyway, interesting. That's good. And, at least people know when you start to see, people with an accent beside me in town, maybe there are students for working with the NATO and the Navy. Very interesting. I really appreciate this information because this is very good. At least we start to know what's going on. And as I said, we are really pleased that at least everything is going good for you guys and you guys opportunity to have a great weather and all these things, a good training. At the same time, I also must tell you, there is also little bit of controversial, and let me tell you exactly what's going on. Bullhead is a town that is pretty much down the river, and then there is, of course, Kingman, the other side. They are pretty much the two main airports. Then there is between this sort of a flatland called Golden Valley area. It is an unincorporated. They probably on your map looks like a bunch of brush and grass, but there are about probably 30,000 people living here. Most of the daily operations that, especially the dives and all these things, happen exactly in this block, okay, in this area. There are a few miles. And, one time, two times, nobody's complaining. But it starts to become every day, 9 to 5, kind of, we have a lot of complaints in a way that it's almost become like no stop. And that's the point. And that's the situation. Our concern is we have so much desert around here that pretty much nobody lives there. Would be possible maybe to try to give some input to you guys and even to the airport in Kingman Bullhead. The people in Golden Valley maybe would like to have a 9 to 5 back to the regular civilian airspace that we used to have, because you got the idea what's going on here.
Right. That's a really good question. Kind of as I was talking a little bit before about the way that we monitor our airways and ensure that we are not crossing different aircraft doing different things, we have to, unfortunately, stick to a very specific part of airspace, some controlled airspace, in order to ensure everyone's safety. So I understand it would be very frustrating to have the same aircraft over your house day in, day out. And here in Corpus Christi, it's constant too, but somehow maybe we're just not as quiet here, and so it doesn't sound as loud.
Yes.
And so I've certainly received some of those complaints, and we take them all very seriously. And here we are caught in these two different aspects. One is we are using taxpayer money, and we need to be very good stewards of that and make sure that when we are on a detachment, that we are using that taxpayer money in the most efficient way possible, which means fly the most amount of hours as safely as we can and get the most amount of our students through so that they can go replace our fleet, as we continue in these constant conflicts. So we're trying to do that, and here at the same time we're hearing that the noise is pretty unbearable. So while we have to complete this detachment, please know that we do take all of the noise complaints very seriously, and that we will go ahead and consider that in the future, most certainly.
Yeah,
we try to have good relationships with the towns that we visit. That's one of our big goals.
Thank you. I appreciate that. This is important because try to respect each other. Of course, we respect you guys for what you're trying to do. At the same time, people here normally they retire in this area, and we got animals, and they move here because it's kind of silent. It's not like we moved to LAX airport. I mean, there is nothing to complain. We knew that there is an airport there after all. Here, normally, Golden Valley, it's like pretty much desert land, okay? And the first month, I think every one of us was pretty much try to be as peaceful, as patient as possible. And now I start to go around and talking with the residents around here. And I understand the feeling because I have chickens, for example. I know probably you may laugh, but they are not making any more my eggs now. They're getting kind of stressed out lately, and I'm going to have now a little conversation with them in the chicken coop. Tell them to take it easy for another month because we are getting there, and please provide more eggs maybe next month. But it's true. I mean, seriously, every day, 9 to 5, I know that probably you have 5 days a week. Maybe a few thousands of us may not be seems enough, but, becomes kind of little stressful after a while. I must tell you honestly about that, and I just hope there was, a way maybe to rotate a little bit, next time maybe send them to Lake Havasu. I think they have an airport there too. They may like this. Anyway, listen, I want to thank you, Lieutenant Olson, because you've been very, very good information and facts. Anything else you want to say to the listeners of our residential Mojave County area?
We really appreciate your support. I know that anytime we get noise complaints, people are concerned that they may seem anti-military, but we appreciate getting the feedback, and we know that that's not so. we can't make any changes without it. So if you could please bear with us and continue to support our guys, in about a year or so, they may be deployed defending us. So please know how appreciated your local area is. And thank you, Luca, for having me.
And there was Lieutenant Olson. I like to have a conversation. I like to have, at least some sort of a communication. As I said, there is a little bit of it's not black and white, okay? Everything has the other side of the coin. We understand that somewhere these pilots must train. We understand that. Also, we should understand, or more important, the Navy should understand that this is also an area where civilians, as I like to call us, we live here. And we lived before even there was all this training. And nobody's trying to be too, delicate or sensitive, If this was just something happened for a weekend or for a week, no big deal. 3 months in a row, as I said, 9 to 5, it started to become kind of stressful, I must be honest, And so that's pretty much the story. And people want to say, we must support our troops. That's fine. This is not about not supporting the troops or our Navy or our aviators. It's about also having support and respect for everyone. After all, the federal government controls probably millions and millions of acres where pretty much they can dedicate these acres also for military operations. And we know that there are already many areas that are off limits for us civilians, and that's fine. And now, the situation is, okay, this happened for 3 months. What if they, instead of say 3 months, they're going to be moving here 12 months? Or maybe why not next year? I think it would be nice to at least share the wealth, as somebody at the White House will say. Let's share also the noise, okay? Let's spread it around. And as I said, for the people who say, I don't care, I want that their sound of freedom. Listen, that's fine. But you know what? Maybe you live in Kingman. Maybe you live in Bullhead. It is pretty much mostly the landing and taking off place, airport. For us, poor idiots living in Golden Valley, we are pretty much in the middle of Pearl Harbor and the World War II movie, all day long, 9 to 5. And as I said, I like airplanes, I like to fly, and I have no problems with any of this, but 9 to 5 every day? Seriously, my chickens, they're getting disturbed. And if my chickens getting disturbed, means I have no more eggs. Anyway, I'm going right now to the chicken coop because I'm going to talk to them. But I want to thank again Lieutenant Olson for to be always so available and interesting information. And don't forget, people, now when you say we support the troops, and I'm not trying to be sarcastic, but maybe you must know which troops. And now we are training also other countries' troops, and this is part of NATO. This is part also of the United Nations. And as you know, my position on the United Nations is not exactly a fan. I completely despise them, but this is the way it is. So for all the people that say, you don't support the troops, that's fine. I support the troops. First, I support the American troops. When it comes down to foreign troops, even the Italians, probably they're great buddies to have at the bar and the pizza place, I wish they would do their training maybe in Naples or maybe in somewhere in Italy, especially when we are here. But hey, this is the new world we're living right now. And so at least you must be aware of the information and the facts. That's, I think, the most important thing. So if you have any other question that you would like to share with Lieutenant Olson, she's very, very nice, and she answers to emails and phone calls. I would like to give at least the official office number so you can talk to her. 361-961-3666. 361-961-3666. Kind of scary, the last 3 digits, 666. Anyway, Lieutenant Brynn Olson, great lady, and very professional. If you have any question, talk to her or just send her an email. Email is bryn.olson@navy.mil. Now, let's go to the chicken coop because we will talk about love. And, today, different show. Instead of cooking pasta, we would like to share with you pretty much how to be self-efficient, independent, and to raise your own chickens. And maybe I'm going to make a nice omelet after that. I'm going to be hungry. Hopefully, I got eggs going on. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna.
Yeah.
We are the wall. We are the soldiers. The United States of America.
We are
that divides freedom from fear. We separate your lives from the tears. We are the wall that permits you to have fun. We stand up strong when everybody runs. We are the wall between things never wished to see. We are the wall, and we are proud to be. We are the wall made of tears, blood, and pain. We are the wall, don't make us die in vain. No, wait. Yeah, yeah.
CNATRA Public Affairs, Lieutenant Olson speaking.
Hi, this is luca-zanna, Lieutenant, and we're here on the air. I know that you forgot something to tell us, and here we go. Any updates?
Yes. In regard to the training hours for the T6 Texan, our students normally receive 75 flight hours in addition to 46 simulator hours for their training. So part of those hours are being received while on detachment in your area.
Perfect. So, by the way, the simulator hours, they're pretty much in Kingman or in Texas? Where is the location?
Those are in Texas. We have great new T6 simulators here, and they receive all of those hours here in Corpus Christi.
Perfect. Any other updates would you like to tell us?
Sure. A little bit more about the way that the airspace works. One of the questions you asked me was how high above the ground do they fly? And I know it seems like it can be low sometimes. And so I talked to some of our guys who are flying out there, and it does differ depending on where you are. Normally airports have flight paths that are around between 1,000 and 1,500 feet. And those are very tightly controlled paths for them to take off, land, and then enter the rest of the airspace. So I talked some about how we have a very good system of different types of airspace and what we do within those types of airspace. And so around the Kingman area, much of it, because it is desert, is uncontrolled airspace, but it's always under military flying within this particular airspace. For what we're doing is always being tracked by the Federal Aviation Administration. So you should see them between, at the very lowest, 500 feet and all the way up to sometimes well above 2,000 feet, especially depending on which maneuvers they're doing.
Yes, it is true, because, at least the 500 feet I can witness that, because there is a part of the 68, Highway 68 exactly where I live, and they do a lot of dives here, and I can see pretty much almost the pilot. I can see, of course, the airplane very well defined, and maybe I should get some nice video, put it out. But excellent. And any other news, something we can be happy about it?
Nothing additional other than that, Luca. We're still, looking forward to finishing up this next month.
Okay.
And going ahead and getting these guys ready for the next phases of their training so they can go ahead and get out there and defend us.
Very good. I would like to give you a suggestion. Why don't you say to the pilot to send, to greet us with some messages like, greeting cards or maybe, bills of $20 or something like that. I'm sure the population would love that. And listen, I want to say thank you for first of all, the communication that you gave us, the information. And as I told you before, I was heading right now to the chicken coop. I'm going to talk to my chickens, and we have a little debate here. Some of them, they're really happy, some of them not really. The rooster is happy. He likes to have this some sort of entertainment in the sky. The chickens, little less, because they say that make them nervous for laying the eggs. But regardless, I wish you the best, and I will keep you updated. And, of course, thank you for informing us. And just, getting the vibe from at least the Golden Valley population. And I'm speaking for myself, but many friends. As I said, we all want the best for our men and women in uniform, and they need to get the training they deserve. I hope that at least at the command center, they understand that even these desert areas where we live, there's still people living. In Golden Valley, we're talking about at least 20,000 people, even if we are spread out. And, it's something that happens in such a constant way. This is not like just a weekend, but it's becoming like day after day, 9 to 5. For many of us, becomes kind of a little bit something we are not used to it, because after all, we were living in the desert. So just to keep in consideration, if maybe, next time you can maybe ask to FAA to move a little bit, just 5 miles from here, there is a completely desert area that we are not on top of homes and animals and things like that. So this is just a little feedback from...
Yeah, absolutely. We already have worked really closely with the FAA to change the path that they're on. And we do, I think I'd mentioned before that we don't know these things unless you tell us. So we appreciate your feedback.
Perfect.
Very much. And we'll continue working at that, and we'll do the best we can. And, we just truly appreciate you guys continuing to support us, and we'll try to do the same when we're out there, and we'll try to get out to the community. Some of those articles are already online, some of the things these guys have been doing. So we will try to give back to your support, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Lieutenant, I appreciate it. I'll let you know how it goes with the chickens, what they're going to say, okay? Keep you posted. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Ciao. Here we go. This is luca-zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on KTOX 1340 AM and on Guerrilla Media Network. As you can hear from the background noise, I'm not anymore in my studio, but I am exactly in the middle of the country, exactly on my property, exactly I'm heading to the chicken coop, to my friends, my little chickens. And we just finished talking with Lieutenant Olson by the Navy. She gave us a lot of good information regarding what's going on in our skies, especially here between Kingman and Bullhead in Golden Valley, with these airplanes that they've been training, and they will be training till pretty much the end of March 2015. As I said, we need to look at this from both sides. I believe really that, yes, the Navy and the Armed Force, they need a place where they can train. That's pretty much black and white for me. The only problem is that we also has, as a civilians, as people, as residents, that's why we need to have some space too. And this is something that happened a little bit differently. Honestly, we didn't see it coming, and it just happened. And I understand maybe for many people in Bullhead or in Kingman, the fact that the airplanes for you is okay, guys, that you got some extra sales tax and revenues, and maybe the situation that they're taking off and landing is not that constant like here we have in Golden Valley, because the idea is most of the training happens exactly above our homes. And as Lieutenant Olson said, according to the FAA, many of this training in this area, because it's rural and there are not many high buildings, we have about probably 500 feet limit. They can come down to 500 feet. And I'm telling you, I've been witnessing many of dives and kind of exciting to watch. But if you think about it, if you have to live this pretty much for 3 months, non-stop, 5 days a week, 9 to 5, I believe that there are also some rights that we have as a resident. So my message is, I hope the Central Command for the Navy will evaluate next time they want to come back here, try to talk and work with the FAA to, maybe just move these main exercises, main trainings, maybe just a few miles south or north of the 68, where most of the homes pretty much will live, There is so much open space. There is space for everybody. I really believe that. But now, today's show, this is the final hour of the show, Love, Guns, and Freedom. I'm heading to my friends, my little chickens. Here we go. And I need to talk to them because, I understand they have an excuse. They don't like so much the noise of this propeller airplane every day. But, guys, you gotta start to do something here because you're not working for the government, okay? This is not NPR or some other charity, okay? I understand the noise irritates you a little bit, but I didn't see any eggs that last week. What's going on with you? Let's go to see what you've done today. By the way, today's show on Love, Guns, and Freedom, normally the last hour we talk about love, about recipes, and little different things, Today I would like to talk about how to raise chickens and why. I mean, I know if you're stuck maybe in some city and, you have ordinances, I feel sorry for you. But after all, if you live in the country, use this opportunity. I believe this is not just a hobby, even of course I enjoy it. I also believe this is something helpful for your family to have a quality food and also to be prepared because, don't count always that you can always have food available at the grocery store. Sometimes emergency may happen. And that's why I think to have at least some good chickens, they're good. Now, let's give you a little bit. This is like kind of a crash course, okay? First of all, I would like to ask something to these chickens here. I didn't see really any eggs, just one. And I know that the one that she did this, made it, the red one. I need to ask the rooster, what's going on? Yes. What happened? You don't like the plane? Hey, listen, you gotta be a little more patient, okay? Yeah, I understand. You got a union, the rooster unions, but you gotta speak with your friends here, with your wives, and tell them to go to work. Are we okay? I think he's not really happy. Anyway, let's start to see how and why to raise chickens. First of all, you must have a little bit of love, as usually. Every time we do something, do it with love. Otherwise, really, it doesn't really happen, okay? A little bit of work, let me be honest. This is not exactly something you just get some chicks and let them they start to grow on their own and then you automatically you got eggs. It takes some work and love. First of all, you gotta find the chicks. And you gotta create an area for the chicks that you're gonna pretty much take care of them. But we will talk about this part next time. I would like to start directly pretty much how to, to do it when you already have the chickens already pretty much grown up. You have a chicken coop, hopefully, or an area that is fenced, because, you don't want to completely let them loose unless you have no animals that they may endanger them, okay? Always a fence area. If you have a big yard, that's great. Don't forget that when you leave them loose, chickens, they're also pretty much kind of destroyers. If you have roses or vegetables, You hear the airplane? Vegetables, they go there and they have fun, they eat. So whatever you don't want to let them eat, you should pretty much create an area dedicated for them. That's for the daily life. Night, they must have a secured area, closed with a roof. And this is very important because I think pretty much almost everywhere, first of all, for weather conditions, and especially if you are in northern territories or cold areas, but also because animals, owls, they're pretty much a threat to chickens. Now, the average starting family, chicken family, I would like to suggest you, at least is 8-10 chickens and 1 rooster. That will really be a good start. The rooster, I know many of you say, well, what do you do with the rooster? After all, it's a kind of a noisy guy, always bitching about, and you know what, the rooster is important for 2 reasons. First of all, it is kind of the defender of the chickens. Animals, snakes, even attack from dogs, owls. The rooster is a good guy. Most of the time, he's a guy that is fearless. He goes out there and he does what he's supposed to do. Sometimes even sacrificing his life. I see many situations where the rooster really broke my heart almost. He gave his life for his chickens. So that's important. A good rooster. And then you need to select the breed that you want. Okay? There are many breeds out there. I won't touch this mostly right now, but we can talk about probably the Rhode Islands, the typical red chicken that normally you see. Here we go. See, again, it's diving. Anyway, the plane is going over my head. But you need to have, first of all, this area with some shade, because you want to give them shade, especially if we live in the desert here. You don't want to let them cook under the sun, especially summertime. It's very rough, okay? Let me tell you something. Water is probably the most important thing. It's more important than food. And you want to be sure that the water is fresh. Every day, I change the water for my chickens at least once, if not twice. That's very important. At this point, there are 2 different ways to feed the chickens. I would say there is more than 2, but let's start with the basic. First of all, everything you have in your home that is food, especially vegetables, everything that is left over, it is not garbage anymore. I used to put this in the compost, put it just in the dirt under the trees. Now, even better, the chickens is going to eat it. So that's a good saving there. You have a good part of your vegetables or food that normally you do not eat, bread, leftover things. Chickens love it. Second thing, grass-fed. You can pretty much grow grass in a very easy way, even in the desert if you can, especially if you go in the north side of a building, give them watering, and you will see grass start to grow if there is shade. That's a good way if you can somehow manage the grass to grow, because grass is good for chickens and it's healthy, and also it's natural. Now, we said at least 2 ways to feed the chickens. There is also more than 2. I'd say 4 ways now. The way number 3, it is to, of course, buy some chicken scratch. And I do, once in a while, I give them also chicken scratch. Problem though, can be expensive, and also the quality of the chicken scratch. Mostly are grains, and unfortunately, I wouldn't be surprised at all, and I can say pretty much 99.9%, all these grains, they are GMO. So if you have to buy the average chicken scratch from Walmart, just mix it up. Be sure that this is not the only food you give them, okay? Give them also some other, blended with at least another 60-70% of other sources. Then the final way also to feed the chicken is to let them loose, especially summertime, when life is back, even here in the desert, worms, and you have all the little different animals, and the green and the grass we have, especially if you have a little bit of an orchard. That's a very good way. You save a lot of money. So you see, after all, it's not that expensive. Now, what's going on? First of all, when you want to take care of the chickens. Chickens need to be clean. I mean, it's important. They're kind of messy, and you must have an area, of course, where they go to sleep. And you will see that area where they go to sleep. Unfortunately, sometimes they're kind of little confused, and they poop the same way they sleep. So you gotta clean them at least every other day. Okay? Do not throw away their manure, because it's very helpful, especially if you have a garden, especially if you have some sort of an orchard. So it's all recyclable. Okay? You don't need to throw in the garbage. Use it for your plants. Now, you gotta get the eggs every day. So let's say for about normally 10, 12 chickens, guess what? You're gonna have, if the chickens they're young, the first 3-4 years, you're gonna have plenty eggs for you and your family. Okay, normally with 10, 12 chickens, I have at least 5-6 eggs at least every day. Okay, of course, more the time goes by, especially winter time, by the way, with less hours of sunlight, chickens going to lay less eggs. Now, when the chickens start to get older, you will see that the eggs gonna get less and less, but they get bigger eggs. Now, very important, animals that could be dangerous to chickens. We already said that, if you live in an area pretty much where desert like here, you have a lot of dangers. That's why you need to have a fence area. Coyotes, wild dogs, even your own dogs, of course, if they're not trained, may be a danger to chickens. But especially at night, you have situation with owls. So don't forget the snakes. Snakes, they don't want really to be aggressive, but I found one time a snake in the chicken coop that, I'm telling you, I was watching it, monitoring it, and at the time I had 2 guineas, a different type of breed of chicken. They're very good with snakes. So I would suggest, if you want to integrate your chicken's family between your different type of breeds you may choose, don't forget the guineas. I believe they're really good as a guardians and also for snakes control. So this is pretty much the basics. Now, when you get your eggs, something that normally when you buy the eggs at the shop, you see the eggs already clean and perfect and all these things. Real life is a little different. Okay, sometimes there is a little manure, a little dirty, little bit of hay. You must be sure you take care of this. First of all, never clean the eggs with cold water. Why? First of all, this water is going to become full of bacteria, and you spread it around. Then the germs, you remove that patina. By the way, the egg, when it is out of the chicken, contains a patina, like some sort of a protective film, okay, and it's waterproof. So normally an egg outside, even outside the fridge, unless it's very high temperature outside, very hot, in a regular day, like 70-75 degrees, it would be okay for a few days if it is not washed. When you want to wash it, if you want to wash it, first of all, use only hot water for at least 60-70 seconds, about a minute, because you want to be sure you pretty much kill the germs, and then you put it in the fridge. But first, before that, use a piece of paper to clean up all the impurity. Okay. Now, many people I see many people, they make their frittata, the omelette, whatever, and then they throw away the shells, eggshells. No, they're really good. They're full of calcium. They contain a lot of calcium, and a very good way to recycle them is to crumble them down and pretty much give them back to the chickens. So this is pretty simple if you think about it. Little work, little love, lot of fun. Chickens can be very friendly, by the way. And I speak for myself, I don't want to sound like an hypocrite, because I like to eat chickens once in a while, but I don't like to eat my chickens, okay? I have some sort of a deal with them. They take care of me, they do eggs, and they're nice, they're happy, and even when they stop laying eggs, I let them loose, and I give them full benefits, unless really becomes dire times. If there's an emergency, I have to survive, I do whatever I have to do. But I'd rather to have an egg a day than chicken just once. That's the situation. No, so I really invite you, my friends, if you listen to the show, Love, Guns, and Freedom, this is not just about rights and information and news about the New World Order or about the Second Amendment and training. Of course, it's all part of the program. We need to be resisting on every level. And one of the ways to resist, to be free, is to be independent. To be independent, start from your own household. And even with a little bit of chickens, a little bit of a greenhouse, a little bit of self-efficiency, that's the first way we can reclaim our freedom. Now, don't forget, in many states, there already are legislations that every animal, even chickens, they must have an animal ID tag, also called RFID chip. That means it's like a little GPS that is animal premises ID. Arizona doesn't have this yet, and I hope and pray it never will happen. But let me tell you something. The moment that somebody will try to put a chip on my chickens, I will be not complying. It's as simple as that, because I know the moment that they can put a chicken, put a tag, microchip, on my chickens, my property, next time probably they will be able to put a microchip also on myself. That's the way they start. So let's start to enjoy our rights, enjoy our chickens, let's stand up. If you have any idea, tips about chickens, this of course was just a basic starting 101, how and why to start chickens, to raise chickens with luca-zanna on Love, Guns, and Freedom. You can always send me an email, and I really appreciate that. Go to the website, www.lovegunsfreedom.com, and send me ideas or whatever you think. And also don't forget, if you want to support the show, you can download any of my songs. I have over 100 songs that you can download from my website, www.zanna.us, for just 99 cents a song. Now, I want to share with you a little bit of sound of nature, the birds, mixed with the Navy airplane. That is pretty much training here in Golden Valley. So my prayers are for the pilots to be safe and to be good. At the same time, I also pray that the commander, wherever he is in Texas, understands that we are here in Golden Valley. We are Americans people too, and I think they are sometimes zoning for a reason, because otherwise, after all, we did not build a house in front of an airport. We built a house in the desert because we would like to stay a little bit in peace. And we don't try to be touchy, okay? We don't want to be picky and kind of sissy here. But it is not like going on just for a day or a weekend or a week. 3 months, no stop, 9 to 5. Even my chickens start to get a little tired. Hey guys, when I say something to the commander in Texas from the Navy, anything going on? Hello? Well, I think they're playing their fifth. They don't want to talk too much. Anyway, that was it for today. You've been listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with luca-zanna. Thank you very much for listening, and talk to you next Sunday, God's willing. Bye.
6th of March, 1836. 189 heroes died for freedom at the Alamo. Remember the Alamo. Remember our heroes. Remember why they died, their sacrifice. Remember the Alamo. Remember our heroes. Remember why they died, their sacrifice.
never die. From our ashes, Texas will rise. We won't surrender, we won't retreat. Our spirit they can't defeat. We fought with honor, we lived with pride. As free Texans, we're gonna die. Remember the Alamo, remember our heroes, remember why they died, their sacrifice. Remember the Alamo, remember our heroes, remember why they died, their sacrifice. Before dawn, we'll all be gone, but a new star will be born. Don't forget our sacrifice. Defend this land, even with your life. Against the tyranny, we stand it alone. We were just men made of flesh and bones. Davy Crockett, Jim Bowie, William Travis, Lejanos, Fuerte para Santa Ana. Remember the Alamo, remember our heroes, remember why they died, their sacrifice. Remember the Alamo, remember our heroes, remember why they died, their sacrifice. Remember the Alamo. Victory over death.
He's a songwriter, a poet, a rifleman,
I'm not afraid.
and a constitutional activist.
I'm not afraid.
Italian by birth,
I'm not afraid.
American by choice. Luca-Zanna
I'm not afraid.
and his new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom. 16 powerful songs on one CD from the heart of a patriot. For download or to order the CD, go to www.lovegunsfreedom.com. That's www.lovegunsfreedom.com. Lyrics for your mind, music for your heart. Luca-Zanna's new CD, Love, Guns, and Freedom.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca-Zanna on Guerrilla Media Network.